says,
Are you sure? I worry about you.
I don't know if we're live yet.
Yeah.
Oh, there we are. There we are.
Yeah.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome. Can you hear me, Kerr? Did I freeze up?
I can.
Oh, you made a face. Bit. You made a face like he's not
you
working.
Did. You said it was hello. Hi.
God. Welcome to the I Tap That Cigar Show presented by Corona Cigar. I'm your host, Kevin Shahan from Cigar Prop, and I am coming to you live from the Drew Estate Experience Asset Studios here on the sunny Gulf Coast of Florida. Joining me, as always, Kerr Viajante of Stogie Road Cigars.
What's up, Kev?
Going good. Jessica's not joining us tonight. Producer Jessica.
Sell out.
I know. She had to work. She had to work late tonight. She's in case everybody missed my post. Jessica is one of the newest managers.
We all got to work.
Corona Cigar, Sarasota.
Well, I'm glad that she's working. I'm glad she's working there. We all had to work today.
Same here. I spent all day, doing stuff around the house, working. But there are times I work on Mondays and still do the show.
Yeah.
But
it's the longest day for me.
I mean, your commute's a minute. My commute's 15 minutes. Her commute's an hour. So we're going to cut her a little bit of slack.
I put in 12-hour day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Work-wise.
Yeah.
Then do the show.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not disputing that. Yeah. I'm just saying, I was like, you just, I mean, you just put different hats on, literally, I think. You just go from one computer to the other. Yeah. All right,
Well, it is very, 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 it's exhausting, man.
It is. I'm sure.
You're just being nice in case Jess is watching. You get blindsided when you come in after the show. I'm not stupid.
Kick this fucking door in like the Kool-Aid man. And, she asked me tonight, which I was being honest. Actually we're gonna wait till Jimmie comes on. I'm gonna ask him this question too. Yeah, I know. So
I got the Jess. I'll do the Jess snaps.
That's it. So I'm gonna highlight this when Jimmie comes on. We'll talk about that. All right. Well, so in case anybody's not watching, you probably know our guest tonight, Boston Jimmie. That's who I keep referring to when I say Jimmie, but it's Jimmie with an IE. Kind of weird. He's the only Jimmie with an IE I know. Do you know any other Jimmies that aren't a Y, Kerr? You don't, do you?
No.
No, and he's the oldest Jimmie I know, as in IE or Y. They usually switch over to Jim. When they're your age, Kerr.
Jim,
yeah,
James,
Jim or James,
Jimothy.
Yeah, no, he's the only IE and the oldest Jimmie I know. So let's get to the CigarMedics humidimeter cut and light because I need a cigar, Kerr.
Yeah, you and me both, man.
What are you smoking tonight?
Well, I'm going to start off. I actually tonight I have a lineup of unique and firsts when it comes to cigars. So tonight I'm starting off with a Sweetgrass Gringo.
All right.
First Candela, Connecticut, Barber Pole. And then for my backup, I have a vice versa.
Oh, look at that.
And if things go crazy and long, which sometimes they do, I have a silent green. So we got a cigar that could be smoked 4 different ways. That's the first. I got the Candela, Connecticut, Barber Pole, which was a first. And we got the San Andreas wrapper with a beautiful selection of tobacco as filler and binder, but it's got Candela in the filler.
This is going to have to be a 5-hour show for you to get through all those cigars. That vice versa is a big one.
I cut it in half.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, there
That's
you go.
I love smoking it that way.
Oh, same here, and I'm running out. I may have to dip into one.
I got questions for Jimmie on that. I want to see him do a review for the give 2 scores to 1 cigar.
Yeah, that Coop said that very well could happen. I am smoking I am smoking the Amendola Natural.
Ooh,
and
nice.
then as my second cigar from the May 2023 Corona Cigar of the Month Club, the regular club, the La Gloria Cubana Serie R. I've been smoking a lot of La Gloria Cubanas lately.
Really?
Man, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I've been hearing a lot about Ernesto. And I'm like, and it's always a cigar you think of when you think of a EPC. No. On the CigarMedics humidimeter, I'm at 64%. No way you're seeing that.
I'm at a solid 61.
Oh, right on.
Solid 61. So, when we did our the blind cigar review, me, you, and Jessica.
Yep.
The La Gloria Cubana Spanish press was the one that you rated the highest.
Oh, was it?
Yep, that's when you said it looked like it dropped it in a mud puddle.
Oh, yeah.
But you rated it the highest. I think you and Jess both did.
Jessica, I like La Gloria Cubanas. I don't know. It's what she smoked today was her first Ashton. She said she really liked it. I'm like, I like Ashton's a nice smooth cigar.
Yeah.
I don't know if they make everything I've had by them has been, more of a smoother. I don't know if they make anything milder, or meatier anyways.
Well, Daryl, they have their VSG.
Yeah.
And that's one of Daryl's favorite cigars.
That's everybody's favorite. How many times on this show have we heard a manufacturer or a maker say that, Ashton, the VSG. Everybody, the VSG.
Good cigar.
Yeah. All right. Delicious. So, all right, let's before we bring on our guest tonight, let's take a moment to thank all of our show partners for making this happen each and every week. So thank you to JC Newman Cigars, CigarMedics, Amendola Cigars. We are the muscle. Where we are the muscle. I lost my place. I don't want too many times. Illusione Cigars, deep in flavor, deep in your mind. See, now I'm off. I just said that all wrong. Illusione Cigars, deep in flavor, deep in your mind. K by Kerr and Berger Cigars, Corona Cigar, and of course, Drew Estate and Experience Acid. I always get nervous when we have someone else, like another blogger or someone else that has a show. And it's just like when Abe is on, he's always fucking judging me. I know he is about the quality of our show. And that's what throws me off.
Jimmie's butt.
He's back there. He's judging me.
He's being judgy.
All right, so waiting patiently in the Experience Acid green room is Boston Jimmie of Stogie Press.
Hey, guys. And no, I'm not judging you because everybody fucks up, including myself, and does Abe, and does Coop, and the rest of the gang. We all have our mess ups. It's live shows. It's the way it works. It was what makes it exciting.
Yeah, Abe has Paul, so Paul DeGrocco. He just blames it's always
Well,
Paul's
you can
fault.
blame it on people, but hey,
Yeah.
I'm a one-man show. When I screw up, it is what it is. But at least I take it later and I try to correct it all at the end, and I post-produce it on my YouTube. So it looks better on the YouTube than it does on the live.
yeah, because you don't do yours live, do you?
I do it live.
Do you do it live?
It's always live.
Okay, I thought
and then once the show is done after a week, I take it and I record it from Zoom I've recorded it on my laptop, and then I push it into Premiere Pro and I post produce it, put little slides in, little page turns, and I try to, if I didn't focus on a guest or something, I can zoom in on them and just have them focal pointed. And then I clean it up and I push it out onto the YouTube channel, and then I put my front end intro, the announcement for it, so it all looks the same on YouTube. They all have a similar look. So you look at the tiles and you're like going, oh yeah, that's taking enough.
Yeah, because I was on your YouTube channel the other day or yesterday, and all your videos were under videos but not live. So I was wondering how that worked.
Yeah, I post produce it and I push them up to YouTube, and then they stay there.
Because
that's why the hits don't come to YouTube first; they come to Facebook first.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was Kerr. I don't know if you saw that. He had some guest on, and I want to go back and watch it. I started the video, but I didn't have time. But as long as I bookmark it,
PK rooms.
The PK rooms, like with like a little room. It's like a little sauna that you build inside your. I mean that's just what I saw from I Googled it real quick.
Pretty big room they can have, an 8x12. They can set up, but yeah, it's a pretty cool system that those guys have.
So it's a smoking room within your house.
You build it, you get the kit, you put it together inside your room. It's got a floor that looks like it
looks like pallets or something.
Well, no, it's actually designed like a air hockey table kind of looking thing.
Oh, okay.
So it's got holes in the floor, a grid of holes. There's a grid of holes in the top. And what happens is there's an exhaust fan up top that exhausts out your roof, or you could probably put it out a window with a seal. But what happens is it sucks the air, because in negative air pressure, it sucks the outside air in up through the floor and then up to the ceiling and out the exhaust. So it's pretty much smokeless, they said, when you're sitting in there. And you bring in whatever the ambient temperature is outside, you bring in right into the inside.
Oh, okay.
So you don't have to have an air conditioner inside. It actually brings in cool air.
That's what I was wondering. And then if they were just using smoke eaters, so it's exhausting
no smoke eaters at all.
Okay. Okay, so it's exhausting that outside.
And it seals off, and then it exhausts, and then when you open the door, you got a smoking room inside of a room.
Oh, right on. I know.
Pretty cool idea.
Yeah, I sent Kerr something a while ago, and it was for a sauna. I think it was like on or you sent it to me or something. A sauna on Marketplace, and I'm like, that would be a cool humidor.
I sent it to you.
You sent it to me. Yeah. Because that would be because they're fairly small. It fit inside of a house, because that's what the indoor saunas are for. They're already made of cedar. So I'm like, how has nobody constructed the humidor yet? Out of saunas. I haven't seen anybody do that home do-it-yourself kit yet.
Jesus, I can't imagine what that costs to get a smoking room, because I'm on here now and they have
$13,000 for the big one, I think.
Yeah, like the 8x12, the Presidente.
Yeah, the smaller ones are like $5,000, I think.
That's not bad. I mean, especially if you had a good size, if you had a good sized garage, even $5,000, by the time say you were going to convert your garage.
It's a 4x8 though, Kev.
4x8
8x12. The 8x12 would be closer to what you would want, but
yeah.
Still, even what I have in my garage, I mean, come on, I've got 350 square feet here.
Yeah.
My lounge. So
if you had to build that, I don't know. It was cool. I didn't know the pricing though. So.
Yeah. The pricing can be can get steep, but if you look at the enjoyment of what you want to do, especially if you're living up in places where the weather's really cold, that makes, and you have an extra room, okay.
But even at $13,000, like if you had a garage you can't build a smoking room. I mean, if you have it like professionally done, because I saw like the photos, those look nice.
Yeah, they
like,
do a really good job.
Yeah,
on
like it's going to cost you $10,000 to build a really nice smoking room. So,
well, they actually the thing about the other thing that you don't realize about it is if you, let's say you put a smoke eater in a room in your house, right, and maybe have a little exhaust to throw some smoke out the window. Your walls, your ceiling, even your AC vents, they're gonna get smoke into it. Okay. And if you ever sell the house, you ever touch your walls? Like I go to my walls even in here. They can get I have to wash them once in a while. They get a little sticky.
I'm about to do when we open up our new lounge. I'm gonna gut this office, and that's one thing I'm gonna show everybody. Like because we've been in here this office for 2 years. 10,000 cigars. I don't know, 5,000 cigars, whatever it is, smoked inside here.
Ceiling, everything gets smoky. So you got to deal with that. If you ever want to sell the house, that becomes a thing you got to take care of. Think about the cost of that to sell the house. Here, you just take this thing apart, you put it in your U-Haul, and you move it to your next house.
That's it. So
anyway, we're not here to promote PK.
I know. I was just
pretty cool idea.
I gotta watch the rest of that episode now because I want to see what their story is on the backside of how they come up with that. So earlier, Jessica was asking me because she's been on a diet. She's been Jimmie. You've been dieting, losing some weight. She asked me, does it look like I've lost weight? And I don't lie to Jessica. I mean, I kind of stretch the truth every now and then.
Break your other leg.
That's it. But I told her, I go, no. She's like, what? And I go, you can't tell if your partner gets fat or slim until you compare old pictures. I go, if you lose a half a pound a day, or even less than that, I go, you can't tell. After like 3 or 4, it's such a slow process, and it just wasn't a good enough answer for her. I go, look, I just took the dogs to the vet. I said, look, I just took the dogs to the vet, and they said Skylar was getting fat. We haven't noticed Skylar getting fat because she's gained a little bit of weight, over time. And she's like petting Skylar. Skylar's not fat. She's healthy. And I'm like, well, then you're healthy. And then I knew instantly.
Oh my God.
Instantly. I had fucked up. Yeah. Oh, that was.
But you see, you got to take the flip side. What I did, I saw my wife go into a weight loss program, okay, because she couldn't lose weight a lot on all these other wacky diets. She had like a thyroid issue, and she never lost weight. So the doctor told her, have you ever thought about Weight Watchers? And she chuckled. And he goes, no, try the new program. It might actually work for you. And she did. So she's doing this Weight Watchers thing. And I looked at her like after like a month or so, and I'm like, you've lost some weight. Bing, bonus point. And then I said, great, put me on it. You do all my cooking anyway, so we'll eat together and just feed me the right amount of points, count my points, tell me where I'm at. And that's what we did. We did that for a whole year. Lost 80 pounds.
Yeah, I went on the intermittent fasting, and then I did.
I eat anything I want, Kevin. Anything I want, as long as I stay within the point value. Yeah, it's pretty easy to do that. And now I'm not even on the Weight Watchers diet anymore. I am absolutely balanced. I was at 189 to 193, 194 range. I would hover in there. I'm actually down to 187 to 192. And I overindulge some days, and other days I just kick it back. And I weigh myself. I'm crazy. I weigh myself 3 times a day. I weigh myself in the morning when I wake up. I weigh myself in the afternoon before I eat dinner. And I weigh myself at night before I go to bed. That may sound crazy, but I always want to know my weight, because when you don't know your weight is when it creeps up on you.
It does. And
I want to know the zone.
Yeah, the intermittent fasting was easy for me. I was already not eating for 10 to 11 hours at a stretch. So I was only adding 2 more hours, or sometimes 3, 12 to 14. So for me, it was a piece of cake just to not eat for another 2 or 3 hours. So, and it actually just those just those extra. And then plus I cut out snacking. So.
Yeah.
But I did that, Kevin. The hardest part for me was breakfast because I'm a breakfast guy.
You always say that you're a breakfast guy.
I have 2 fried eggs every morning, 2 slices of turkey bacon, done in an iron skillet, so it actually comes out crispy the right way. It doesn't taste like cardboard, and 2 whole grain English muffins with no butter. I just use the egg yolk to slop up instead of butter every day. Not a problem. Perfect breakfast.
Well, by intermittent fasting, I had to go till noon without eating. I didn't have fried eggs, so. Yeah. But after a couple days, I got used to it, and it was just like wake up, drink coffee, drink water. If I worked out, I could do a protein shake. That didn't count as a meal. But after a couple days, it didn't bother me at all.
It took me a couple of weeks. Probably took me 2 weeks to adjust to that extra couple of hours because now I don't eat breakfast until like 11:30, sometimes noon. So, but now I don't even sweat it.
It's called brunch. Usually that goes with a Bloody Mary.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm at work, so it's Raisin Bran with a side of cranberry juice. Well, let's get So, first of all, Jimmy, what are you smoking there tonight?
So I don't know. I got something here from this weird company. It's like Trash Panda. Ever hear of these guys?
I have heard a thing or two about them.
Familiar.
And I wish I could actually read the name on the band.
Sucks. That band sucks.
I mean, I just can't read what that is, even when I take my glasses off.
That is
what does it say?
Cert Mith Bruscar, real good trash.
Oh, is that what that stands for? In Gaelic,
yeah.
In Gaelic? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Real good trash. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I sent John Huber. He just messaged me a little bit ago. I sent him some to try out.
I fired one of these up, and I already tried one. I got one left to put out a review on. Give you my take on it.
That's Gaelic for real small lettering.
Yeah, I
Gaelic real small, real small. I can read Trash Panda Productions on the back real easy,
But the front of that band, Jimmy, when I saw it on my computer screen and the Kerr and I, and it's like this big on your computer screen, like that's beautiful. Let's fit in more stuff.
I said you shrink it to 1.5 inches. What the fuck was I?
Well, you should just make the band a little bigger.
Yes. And in hindsight, yes, there was that was my.
It's a very cool band, though. I mean, I love all the artwork.
It's just too small.
Yeah. It's tough to see what's on it, but that's okay. We live and we learn,
That's it. We just got got to keep
but
on keeping on.
I did test. You were talking earlier. I watched you guys. How you started your thing. So I did a 64% on the humidimeter. And I did an absolute perfect cap cut with the baller.
I need to get with I was just talking with Luigi last week about something else, and I forgot to mention to him. I need the sharpening stone for this. Mine's dull.
Do too, man. I do too. I'm at about 1,200 cigars cut with this now.
Did you see the sharpening stone? Did he show it to you?
He showed it to me show.
Yeah, it's so cool. So I can't use mine anymore. So it is completely.
Yeah, mine's getting there, but I will give a big shout out to Luigi since you brought him up, and I'll bring him up. So Luigi was so kind enough today to drop a nice donation on my Climb for Autism. So it was a weird donation number, but he did it because he said he rounded it up so that we're at 5,000 now. So we're at the 5,000 mark right now because of Luigi. So
right on. So so everybody that's been watching this show for the last month, I think, maybe even longer than that. I mean, ever since we got back from the Great Smoke, I think we've been talking about it. But for the last month, in the show notes, if you're listening to this on the podcast, it's in the podcast description. Talking about Boston Jimmie climbing Mount Fuji, and last week I said to cure autism. That was a mistake. Someone else called me out on that. We're not curing anything.
Not curing it.
Because there's nothing to cure, but we're raising money. We're raising money for awareness, for Autism Speaks.
Well, it's awareness, and also it goes to help and treat people, okay? So it helps people on the spectrum, Okay, they have a number of different programs that they go through. Trying to find a cure for autism. My son, who did all of his research at Vanderbilt on the in the neurobiological brain function and on the autism spectrum was his focus. He'll tell you that what they're trying to do is find different drug pathways in the brain to treat it, to kind of, adjust it. But there are many on the autism spectrum that'll tell you, don't change me. I'm happy the way I am. So
our daughter has, I wouldn't change her. If there was something tomorrow, a drug that, no, because she's special the way she is and we love her. And I would never, because what do you get? I mean, what's the flip side of that? I guess maybe when they're young, I don't know. It's not for me. It's not for me to decide. It's for the parents and whatever. Yeah. But we're going to start off with your trip, and then on the second half of the show, we're going to get into some, just we're three guys in the cigar industry, media. So we're going to get into some media stuff. So first of all, you mentioned your son. Let's talk about Dominic. Your son. You're climbing Mount Fuji. What kind of kid? We're gonna start. We always go way back to the beginning. Usually it's the cigar maker. Today it's gonna be your son. Like, what kind of kid? When you have a kid that's a doctor, usually as a child, like you could tell, like they were gonna do. What was Dom like as a kid?
Dominic was in himself his own unique child. We always, my ex-wife and I, raised both our children to have free minds, choose what they want, support what they want, do what they want, and be good to people. So he was well. I'll tell you this: he was in kindergarten. Okay, and in Catholic kindergarten, and he didn't particularly like Catholic school at all. Whereas my daughter graduated 8 years of it, right? And he had a run-in with the kindergarten teacher where it became an issue, and it caused some problems for him. I won't get into the deep problems, but it caused some issues that he had. And we had to get some counseling done with him, and eventually we actually had to hold him back 1 year, okay, because of the issues he was dealing with. But he went to public grade school, public high school. Ended up playing. He got his red belt in Taekwondo. He played some soccer. Tried to play baseball, but didn't like the game. He didn't like the way it went, so that wasn't his jam. He was a big wrestler in high school. Never got to the great championships, but held his own. He was one of those kids that you go 3 rounds and you're not pinning him. Okay, you're gonna have to win by points. You're not gonna win by a pin. He refused to get pinned, right? But very brilliant in science. Okay. Very, very brilliant scientist. Ever since he was a little kid, and he excelled in high school. He was he was as close. He was, I think, a salutatorian as opposed to a valedictorian, but he was way up there. He was the school president, the senior class president. So he was well liked. He had a rock and roll band throughout high school called a band called Inderman, which was quite interesting. All original music. They refused to do anything. They didn't do covers. They refused to do it. And even to this day, those same guys get together every year at Christmas time for like 4 days, and they hunker down on one of their friends' houses and they write music together. Okay. They just come back in from wherever they live in Texas, Massachusetts, Tennessee.
Wow, that's awesome.
They just hang out and write music. So he's a very talented musician, very smart scientist. He ended up getting he went to the University of Miami for marine science and biology, and that's where he honed his skills there on the electron microscope. So he was a genius on an electron microscope. He taught the class. He was a TA in that class later, in his junior and senior years. So he really took a liking to that. And then when he graduated from there, he kind of took a sabbatical for a while, just thinking about what he wants to do. He worked at Panera Bread. He was like, okay, so I spent all this money to send you to the University of Miami and you're working at Panera Bread. Oh my God, I'm going to shoot myself, right? Because you're going to do something special, I said. You need to get your head back on. But he was just kind of taking his thing. And eventually he started to apply to different research institutes. And he got accepted to, it was a very prestigious program at Vanderbilt University, where they only bring in 100 students a year into this particular program. And they rotate through different labs while they're working on their doctorates. And then they settle on a particular lab to work in, and then they further their research in that area. And they brought him in because of his electron microscope capability. Okay, they needed somebody in labs that can do this stuff. So he ended up working in this lab where they do a lot of research on the brain using fruit flies. So believe it or not, a fruit fly is a few chromosomes off from a human, and the brain function is quite similar with the dual lobes and everything. So he has pictures on his wall of like sliced fruit fly brain cells, okay, active doing things as he's testing and looking at stuff from the electron microscope. Just imagine the size of a fruit fly brain for a second.
Yeah, and then taking a slice of, it.
Slicing the brain cells, right? So he's written 6 papers on this. He studied what was called the Fragile X syndrome. The Fragile X gene is one of the known genes that cause autism. So the focus was around Fragile X and what kind of causes that. But in the process, he had also, began to discover the fact that, well, we all know about the basic structure of the brain, where we've got brain cells that have these synapses and these things and the electrical and the chemical reactions. And that's what they teach us in high school and early college. There is another structure of the brain with a different set of cells called glial. And glial translates to glue. It's kind of what keeps the brain together. And they're known as zombie cells because what they do is they're programmed to trim brain cells so the brain don't do this, right? And there are parts of the brain and they're supposed to trim what they're supposed to trim. And sometimes that programming goes a little rogue and they start trimming the wrong things. And that starts causing neurological issues, from autism to Parkinson's to maybe even Alzheimer's to epilepsy, you name it. There's a little thunder.
Man, I heard that on my end.
Oh, God.
All right. So that's where he took his research. So he's written 6 papers on it, 6 published papers he has, the most that any undergraduate has ever done. Most that any graduate student in the doctoral program ever wrote in Vanderbilt University. He stayed there, and now he has taken a position starting in September at the Cold Spring Harbor Institute in Long Island, New York. And for those that don't know the Cold Spring Harbor Institute, that is one of the most prestigious institutes in the world for scientific research. It's where DNA kind of got discovered. The Nobel Prize guy was there. They put out more Nobel Prize laureates in science than anybody. So he's going in there, and he's now going to turn his focus is turning into using mammalian research instead of insect research. He's going to be using rats and stuff, obviously, to study epilepsy. So he's moving into looking at epilepsy now, and he's going to be working in a lab there and doing postdoctoral work and advancing more science as he goes on. So
now you say
that's kind of my.
Yeah, is he making money? You know,
he gets paid. He got paid. So the
okay.
program when he went to Vanderbilt University, he told me when he was in University of Miami that because it was very expensive, and he says, "Don't worry, Dad, you won't have to pay for my graduate school because it'll all be paid for." I said, "Well, I don't pay for graduate school anyway. All right, you get the undergrad. The rest is up to you, right? You know." Hell, my father gave me a semester's worth of tuition, his whole life savings in undergrad, and said the rest was up to me. So I've upped your game, buddy. I gave you a whole education, and the rest is up to you. So he kept that promise, and what he did is he got into this program where for 6 years it was zero cost of tuition, number one. So no cost, no tuition, no fees, no nothing, plus a stipend, plus health care. So basically his whole job was just to research and get a degree for 6 years. Okay. And then he lived in his laboratories practically. He just spent a lot of time there. And that's what you do. So now he'll take this position. I mean, it still doesn't pay what I think he's worth. Okay. But that takes time. And unfortunately, in the science community, pure scientists get paid less than guys like me that are engineers. Engineers come out of college and undergrad, they make beaucoup dollars. Okay. Scientists come out, they make about that much of those beaucoup dollars. And these are the guys that create the science that guys like me put into work in the real world. Right. So you need the scientists to create the new discoveries so the engineers can then figure out ways to use them in real products that everybody uses on the planet. So they should get paid more too. But hey, so should teachers, so should everybody else. So he's going to be just fine. He's his girlfriend is a physician. She's making a lot of money. So the two of them are taking this journey to New York and going to live a good life. And I look forward to where they go next.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Now I know you're an engineer. I've told other people, "Oh, hey, Jimmy's an engineer." People are like, "Well, what does he do?" And I go, "Well, I don't know. He's an engineer. I know. I can be a fucking bridge engineer. I don't know. That's it. What? So now, I mean, for as long as we've known each other, what do you do?"
So I'm a master's degree in electrical engineer. Okay. I got my bachelor's in engineering at Pratt Institute in New York in 1981. I got my master's in electrical engineer focused on computer engineering, which is actually not computer science. I don't want anybody to get confused. My master's thesis was actually designing a microchip, okay, from scratch, the inner workings of it. So I did that in 93. I worked for the Northrop Grumman Corporation for 20 years of my life, designing and working on an airborne surveillance platform in multiple levels of engineering, everything from integration and test to labs to what we call systems engineering, which is big picture thinking. I'll get back to that in a second. Project management, program management. I kind of did it all right, in that 20 years. And then I left them and I moved into a small company based out of Ohio at the time that eventually over time got bought out through mergers and acquisitions, became the Siemens, part of the Siemens Corporation, the big German conglomerate. And what we do is we are the largest industrial software company in the world. What that means is all of the engineering and manufacturing that goes on this planet, okay, in big companies, airplanes, cars, cell phones, electronics, refrigerators, stoves, you name it, use our products to design, to test, to simulate, to manage all that information, what we call the digital thread. So taking a whole vehicle, a whole automobile, and completely digitizing it to where you can run it through a bunch of different scenarios before you ever build a prototype of it.
Okay. So after I've been listening to you talk for 2 minutes. I am no closer to understing what you do for a living. You know, okay.
You look a little lost there, Ted. You just had that 1,000-yard stare.
So what happens is so based on that, what I do is my job is I'm a what they call a principal solution architect, basically a subject matter expert in what we call systems engineering, which is big picture engineering, understanding like if you want to put a satellite in orbit, right?
Yeah.
How do you do that? Okay. Well, you need a way to launch a satellite into orbit. So you need a launch vehicle. You need a ground platform to put that launch vehicle on to launch it. You need to have a way to attach it to the launch vehicle. You need a way to deploy it. You need tracking stations to track it, and you need information to bring the information back down to receiver stations to communicate, transmit, and receive from this satellite, right? And adjust its orbit and whatever, right? A lot of big things that when you look at that big space problem, now you break it down into smaller and smaller bite-sized pieces to the point where you have this lighter, right? So this lighter has components on it. It's got obviously a lever on the side with a spring that opens up the thing up top, right? Each one of those components has a function. So we define the functions of a product and design and define how it's supposed to work, how much force you're supposed to be able to take to pull it down, how much fuel you're going to push through the holes. All of that we define in requirements and hand those off to people that make the components, and then we get it all back and oversee the integration of it into the final product and do all the tests, get all the testing done. My job is to, on the Siemens side, is to work with large Fortune 100 companies that deal in this space, that use our software or want to use our software, and understand what their problems are in their process, in their engineering process, that we can solve and reduce time in. And then they tell us when they start using it, well, I like what you're doing, but you don't deal with this issue that we have. I take that knowledge back, the voice of the customer, and I bring it back into our product development teams and say, okay, XYZ company, they need the software to do this, this, and this. This functionality is not in our software. We need it to do this. Like we're sitting here, if you wanted to compare two examples, you're dealing with a whereby and you're dealing with Zoom, right? If I was to look at those two, I would say, you know what? Why the hell, Zoom, can't I put freaking advertisements up on the side of me on the screen? By the way, Zoom, why can't I multicast out to multiple platforms without having to get an extra integrating license, right? That's the type of stuff I then get back and I feed it back. But it's always in this space that I just talked about. Requirements, functions, system models, okay, in simulations. All of that is my space to help customers do a better job. And then they tell us where we are stupid, and I bring it back and say, hey, guys, you got to fix this. And I get paid to do that.
So Kevin's follow-up question to this is, so Jimmie, what do you do?
So I'm going to tell everybody Jimmie designs lighters. I am going to pull this one clip out, this 30-second clip, and I'm like, see, he designs lighters. And that's what I'm just going to tell people.
It's like, an analogy, brother. What's wrong?
Yeah. That's it. I just feel like Office Space, like the one engineer, or the management that's trying to explain to the Bobs on why he shouldn't be fired. And yeah, that's yeah. So yeah, Jimmie's an engineer. That's
traveled around the world. I've worked with the largest companies on the planet. I've dealt with the best brass in the military. I've had an enjoyable career for the last 40-something years. That's all
I bet. Can you hang a ceiling fan though with that degree? You have that's all.
I hang ceiling fans without turning off the electricity. How about that? I am not afraid of electricity.
Yeah. Well, it's very safe from what they tell me. I will shut off my neighbor's electricity in his house
the same way.
if I think that I'm about to get shocked for anything. I'm running I'm like running Cat 5, like trying to put the ends on. The other end's not even connected to anything, and yet I'm nervous about,
Don't stand on a ladder barefoot holding a wire.
Yeah.
Okay, and don't hold the wires like this. I doesn't like that jolt.
I had a guy come out and he put in a new panel on the outside of the house, and it runs through the whole, through the attic to the main breaker panel inside. It was starting to rot out. I had to put some ground rods in. He did it all live, 2 big cables. And he's like, I've been doing this for like 30 years. And he goes, I'd advise you not to stand next to me. He did it. He did it live and put those things together. But yeah.
No, electricity never bothered me. And having studied it, I know more about it. I have a lot of respect for it, but at the same time, I know what not.
I have an electricity question. I've been waiting. Eventually, I want to have Neil deGrasse Tyson on the show. He's never coming on the show. But I always want to know, because I can't get a solid answer online. Maybe you could help me out, being an electrical engineer. How much does a lightning bolt weigh? It's got to weigh something. You can get
particles. It's charged particles, so particles have weight.
Yes. So you gotta work on that for me, Jimmy, and get me an answer.
They're charged particles have weight, so it's gonna have some weight. I mean, how much does a light beam weigh?
Yeah, I don't know. It blew my mind when I found out a cloud can weigh 1 million pounds and it's still floating the fuck up there. So yeah,
a lot of water vapor up there.
A lot of water vapor. So lightning bolt, how much was one way? So we're gonna come back on that on another show. But let's get back to my first question on the big event. Why climb a mountain and why Mount Fuji?
All right. So what happened was, go back to my son. So when he was at the University of Miami, when he decided he was finally going to go postdoc, I told him, I said, hey, when you get your doctorate. So I used to live in Japan. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So one of my great jobs, I worked consulting with the Toyota Corporation over there for a year through my company. And it took me to a city in Japan called Nagoya. So I spent a year living in Nagoya. I spent a year traveling back and forth there before I took the assignment there. So good, almost 2 years living in Japan, basically. And I remember I brought my son over for his birthday that year, and a colleague that I was working with, American colleague, his wife asked me if I wanted to go to Mount Fuji with them, just hang out on they had like this cool onsen thing that they were going to go to. And I was like, sure. And my son's in town. He goes, yeah, bring him too. So we got this cool place to stay at the foot of the mountain, this tiny little village area, a little creek on the back. And we had a really good time. We never climbed the mountain, and we didn't plan to climb the mountain. So we just basically, went up a little bit, touched the mountain. And I told my son, I said, when you get your doctorate, we're going to come back here and we're climbing this mountain in celebration. So he gets his degree right at near the end of the pandemic. And he's at my house. And he says to me, I guess we're not going back to Fuji. I said, why would you say that? The pandemic is pretty much over. It's going to work its kinks out, and Japan will open the door like everybody else, and we'll be able to go to Japan. He goes, no, look at you, Dad. You're a fat fuck. There's no way you climb a 13,000-foot mountain. You'll die. And I looked at him and I said, I never broke a promise to you. I'm not going to break this one. I'm going to lose the weight, get in shape, and climb in that mountain. He says, yeah. He laughed. He says, I'll see it. Let me see it. I'll believe it then. So here I am.
Yeah,
in shape.
A couple years later, yeah.
Not even a year and a half. This is a year and a half later. I am ready to go. And he's like, yeah, Dad, I'm so proud of you. Let's do this. So that's why we're going to climb Mount Fuji, is to celebrate his great accomplishment, as being, in my book, the top of the heap for what he did in science. And then we decided to go one step further. And I told him, I said, look, if we're going to do this, I said, let's reach out. Let's see what we could do to raise some money for autism. Since all your research was around that, why don't we celebrate it even more and see what we can do? And I said, let me set up a charity, a campaign on Autism Speaks, which was the easiest one to get a campaign set up. You just go in, you set the campaign up, boom, and you're off and running, right? And I said, with all the people we know in the cigar community, especially, if I continue to push this, I know we can raise some money, because this is a very giving, loving community that we're all part of. And I believe that we're going to be able to raise some significant dollars. Like I said, right now we're at 5,000. We have till July, so we got some more things coming in. I have some more events to go to raise. I was just at my cigar shop locally and last week, and we raised $500 there in like 20 minutes.
Wow, that's great.
And that's the way it should be, you know. I you know, you'd mentioned earlier that Luigi kicked in and made it $5,000. So how long has the campaign been going?
It's about 2 months.
About 2 months, and I know. And I know we talked about this last time we you know that we spoke, you know, down in Boynton Beach. You know, I think we're both a little disappointed, you know, at the community. You know, I would have thought you'd have raised twice that by now.
Word has to get out, and and like everything, it goes through levels. So it depends on who you talk to, who gets you, you know, continues to promote it. Things happen. So I see it ratchet up, and then it flatlines for a while. Mm-hmm. Like last week, it flatlined until Thursday, and then it took off again. And I promote it constantly, talk about it. But, you know, I just tell people, I say, look, you go out to a lounge, you sit back, you're smoking $12, $15 cigar, you're sitting there drinking, you know, even if you're just drinking beer, right? All right, you're probably spending $5 a glass. You probably have 2 or 3 beers, maybe that's $15. You know what? Forgo a beer or forgo one cigar and drop $10 on it one day. If every consumer did that, we'd be raising $100,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard, okay, to do that.
It's not, you know, not hard at all. And speaking of hard, how hard was it? And not getting, I want to say get in shape, losing the weight. You know, we talked about that, you know, the Weight Watchers thing. What has it been hard training? Like what is the training to climb? Because you can lose weight. You can get in shape. I can lift weights. I can't train here in Florida to climb Mount Fuji. No. How are you?
So here are the challenges. So here's what I did. So the first thing I did to couple with the dieting is I put myself back into Taekwondo, which I did with my son years ago. And when he left the program, I kind of left. So after 20-something years, I put myself back in, found the same dojo. They're a different location, but, you know, run by a different sensei. The other one passed away, blah, blah. But I went back in with my blue belt, and they put me in front of the class as senior student, being the oldest and the highest ranking belt at that moment in the class. And I'm like, I know nothing. Well, doesn't matter, Jim. You are now senior student because you're the oldest and the highest rank, right? So it was fun. I couldn't throw a kick. I couldn't, you know, I looked like a spaz on everything I did. It was ridiculous what I could do, man. It was stupid. And I was heavy, with a belly, and just, it was horrible. And I've been doing that every week, 3 to 4 days a week, doing that. My that was designed, and that was designed for 2 reasons. One, to continue with the weight loss and keep myself in shape, but B, to get the flexibility, to get the legs strengthened, okay, to get the cardio going. You know, you're doing an hour of punching and kicking nonstop. I mean, it's intense, right? Not out of breath in doing it at all. Okay, just I can go up with the best of them. I can do 2-minute sparring sessions 3 times in a row with different young teenage kids that they can run circles around you, right? And so that's what I did for that. So that was the primary thing. And then about a month ago, I started the next level of this because I said I got to get one step further. And that was I walk 9 miles every Sunday. Okay, so I leave my house at 8:30 in the morning on a Sunday. I walk down, go down US 1, down to this other road, which cuts right along the riverway here. Okay, over the causeway towards the beach. Okay, back over the causeway. And then my wife usually picks me up either at Starbucks or the local pub there with a pina colada in my hand. But along that route now, what I'm doing is there are, as you going up towards the causeway, there are steps to go down along under the causeway where people go fishing under the causeway
and get murdered. But yes,
so this is Melbourne. So you go down the steps. So at first I would go down the steps and up the steps. And now what I realize is, wait a second, right next to where the stairs are to go down, and it's about 20 feet down, steps, right? They have rock that they laid on the edge on that incline to the left and right of the stairs. So now what I do is I walk down the stairs, then I climb up the rocks. I stand up and I climb the rock, just just touch the rail once in a while if I had a walking stick, right? Go to the top, go back down, go to the top, go back down, go to the top, and I do that 10 times. And then I cross the causeway, and on the other side of the causeway, there's another one of these things. And I do the same thing 10 times. And then I come back and I do it one more time. So that's 600 feet of climbing rock.
Okay.
On top of the 9 miles.
On top of the 9 miles.
What time did she pick you up?
Yeah.
About
4 in the afternoon?
No, about noon or so, around noonish.
Gosh, man.
It takes me about 3 hours to do this. And now what's going to happen is I'm going to extend that. I actually did a little jog this past week. So I said, let me jog a little on this too. I don't want to bust my knees, but I said, let me just do a little jog. So I threw in a little jog here and there just to get it going. The first time I did this, my legs were like rubber for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, I was like, holy crap, what did I do to myself? I'm not going to climb this mountain. I felt like I had the flu. But now, all my glutes, my calves, my ankles, I have no pain in those now when I do this walk. It's like I get out there and I'm just like energized, man. I come back, I'm like, I could probably do another 9 miles. Okay. It's not affecting me. It's strengthening me. I feel a little in the glutes sometimes. Like this past week, I did more of that climbing, and I got a little on the glutes throughout Sunday. But today I'm fine. I don't feel any of that. So my legs have strengthened, which is exactly what I expected. And then just before I go on the climb, I plan on walking from here over the causeway, down A1A, back over the other causeway to my local cigar shop. That's going to be about a 5-hour walk. Okay. And I'm going to end up at Executive Cigars. And that's going to be my final little thing, a little push for fundraising on that again. To say, okay, I just walked 5 miles to come here for a cigar.
So Executive is your local lounge?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was there, I don't know, 6 months ago. Great little, for the first time. Nice
in
little
Melbourne.
lounge.
In Melbourne.
Yeah, in Melbourne. Yeah. So, super nice place.
So that's what I've been doing. So the only thing I haven't been able to do, obviously, is go for altitude, right? So my son lives in Tennessee. He's fine. He climbs mountains. He hangs around. He goes up and down the hills with his dog. I don't have that. So I'm going from sea level.
Yeah.
Flying over to Japan, landing, and we land on a Sunday. We climb on a Thursday. So I got basically Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to kind of go. I know some place. We're going to go to Kyoto for a day, and I know I've been there before, and there's You go up in the mountains, you climb up these mountain areas, and you go up to where the shrines are. So we'll get some altitude, but we're not getting 10,000, 13,000 feet. Okay.
Yeah. So tell us. Okay. So the day of your climb, we'll talk about like the night before. So what does that entail? Climbing Mount Fuji, when you show up there and you're climbing the next day.
So the night, here's how this works. So on Wednesday, there is no alcohol consumption and probably no nicotine consumption in the body. Okay. There will be an exaggerated amount of water. You will hydrate the self crazy. So a lot of water, right? Carbohydrates are going to be very good, right? Like going on a marathon, right? You do carbs, right? You need carbs. All right. We then go on early Thursday morning, about 6 o'clock in the morning. They pick us up at we'll be in Tokyo. They pick us up at a train station in Tokyo, and they bring us to we end up going to what's called level 5, which is 5,000 feet. Is the level you start at, right? And I think that we'll get there from the time they get us to the time we get there and everybody gets settled. I'm going with a tour group, okay? It's a small tour group, but it's...
Oh, okay.
All right, so... And we're going up the medium complexity trail, not the easy trail, right? And what happens is, I think we get there like about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, maybe in that range. We all get settled in, make sure we got to have our we'll have our backpacks, we'll have everything we need, boots and all of that. We'll rent the poles and a few other things that we can rent there. And then you start to climb and you start going up, and you go up to what's level 8 initially. So the first day on Thursday, you're going to climb from 5,000 feet to, I think it's like 12,000 feet. Okay. Maybe 11, high 11s. And that's level 8. You get up there in the early evening, right?
Okay, so I was going to ask you how long that first
the
climb.
the whole trail all the way to the summit is 9 miles. That's why I'm doing 9-mile walks, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Just put that in perspective. But you get up there, the majority of the hike you're doing in day 1, and you're getting up to this area where they've got a base camp there. And you get some food and some more water or whatever, and they have these bunks, and you basically, it's these huts that you go into, and you're basically laying. It's almost like they're not they're cots, but they're all connected to each other. So you have a new friend next to you if you don't live next to you. You know what I mean? Everybody just hunkers down in these things, and you kind of bed down. Probably about 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock at night, the latest, I think. And at 1:30 in the morning, you get up and you start to climb. It's dark. You go up at night and you climb to the summit. That last run goes up the summit. And that's the hardest part of the climb because it's going to be the most elevation, kind of, angle-wise. But the worst is like 45 degrees, all right, kind of thing, they say. So you get to the summit, you get there around 4:30 in the morning as the sun begins to rise, and you watch the sun rise over. Now, along this trip, Mount Fuji being 13,000 feet, there's all kinds of things that can happen. The weather, okay? You can get clouds to come over. We're going in the summertime. You can get clouds to come over. You can get hail, sleet. It's snow-capped at the top. It's below freezing at the top, right? You're going to get wind that can just come in out of nowhere, below 30, 40, 50-mile gusts can start hitting you, or it could be a perfect climb. You don't know. It's just can happen out of the blue. So you got to be prepared for that. We know everything we need in our, for packing to do this. You're going to have layers of clothing that you'll change as add to as you go up to get to the top. And then once you're at the top, once you get done seeing the sunrise, and along the way, and we're going to video a lot of this during daylight hours, and we'll be taking a lot of photos. And be a whole article and Zoom. There'll be a whole thing on this later to show everybody the experience. But coming down the mountain, they say, is actually sometimes harder than going up the mountain, because where up the mountain you got like a lot of steps that they have built in that you go on these trails, right? Because it's a planned pathway. You're coming down kind of a shale side of the mountain, with a lot of lava.
Oh, so you're not coming down the same side you went up?
Not in the beginning. Okay. Eventually it connects. It connects, but an early part of that is just kind of this incline, and people slip and slide on that all the time, and it's really hard on your knees. So I'll have knee wraps with me, because I don't want to blow my knees out. So I'll have some knee wraps, obviously. And when you come in poles, right, and you just it takes about 3 hours, 3 maybe 4 sometimes, to get down the mountain. And then once you're down the mountain at level 5, then they take you and they bring you back to Tokyo. And we'll probably be back in Tokyo somewhere in the afternoon. And all I know is there's going to be one hell of a sake party.
Yeah. Okay. So you spend the night, and it's basically 2 days to come up, but you're coming down all in one shot.
Yeah, you're coming down the same day you hit the summit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you're going to see the summit. It's 4:30 in the morning. You're going to leave the summit around 6. Okay, because the sun have risen. You had your experience, now down.
Okay.
And there's like 3 or 4 different buses that take people back to where they got to go.
So Kevin, I got some Mount Fuji fun facts.
Yes,
okay?
Some Mount Fuji fun facts.
So there's a couple out there that's either true or false or whatever. So is this true or false that women were forbidden to climb Mount Fuji?
Yeah.
I would say true. Probably bad luck.
Bad luck for women. No, it was they were not allowed to climb until 1872. The main reason was that women, especially beautiful women, made the Konohana angry, and it causes Mount Fuji
to erupt.
Because Mount Fuji is a volcano.
Yeah. Women have always been jealous since the beginning of time.
It's an active volcano. What was the last year that Mount Fuji erupted?
I'll let the audience answer that.
I'm gonna go 8,000 years. I don't know.
Way off.
Your time, Kevin, is equal to your geography.
Oh, yeah?
Not that I know the answer because I looked it up, so I'm pretty arrogant.
It's like 1700 something.
1707.
Really?
1707.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, you just don't hear about that. Like it's like all the other mountains, 10,000 years ago, whatever.
One more for you, Kevin. True or false? Yeah. Mount Fuji is public land, and you can go and travel and climb anywhere on the mountain.
It's got to be true. It's owned by the country.
Jimmy?
You can climb it any time you want, but I think you need a permit to climb it outside of the climbing season.
Right, but it's all public domain.
It's all public domain. It's a sacred mountain, though.
False. Mount Fuji is partially privately owned land.
Oh, crap.
Yep.
There's a city on the other side of it. Right?
It's from I guess the top, from the 8th station upwards is private territory. And they own 1,300 temples in this country. It's the Fujisan Hongu Senjei Taisha. I'm sure I butchered that. Okay. In 1606, the shogun of Edo period donated the area to the company. So they own the 8th station upward is privately owned land.
There you go. That's interesting. So they own the summit. So that's why there's a restaurant at the summit.
and a post office.
There's a restaurant at the summit.
Oh, is there?
And a post office.
I thought you were going to say, there's an Applebee's at the top.
No, they have a restaurant and a post office and everything. And actually, as you climb the mountain, you've got to get, besides your regular walking sticks, you get this other stick. And every station, they they burn in a stamp. They put a stamp on it for each station.
And you get to take that home with you?
You're supposed to take that home with you, right?
Oh,
I don't know how I get that home because it's big and, can you bring it?
Mailing tube, FedEx. It's Japan. They got FedEx. Just put that in a mailing tube.
Kevin, you can get married. You can go over there and hike the mountain and get married. They get married at a temple up there, yeah.
So Jimmie, you've obviously done your research on Mount Fuji. Kerr has as well. We were talking before the show, Kerr and I were talking. Someone had just climbed, like Mount Everest, and they were at the peak or the summit, and I saw a picture, and it was like flat, and like in my cartoon wisdom, all mountains come to a point. So when you climb,
not all volcanoes do that.
Well, I learned during the show it's an active volcano too. So is there, because all the volcanoes I see are from villain movies, and there's always a big caldera and it's full. So how is it filled in? Is it flat? What happens when you get to the top? What is there?
There's two calderas because it blew up. It had two explosions.
Okay.
Right. So it kind of has two. I guess there's like two calderas up there that you can walk around the perimeter and look down in it.
Okay, so it's a wide area you can walk around. I'm thinking
kind of you've never been to Hialeakala in Maui either, have you?
I have not.
Yeah, so it's like going to Hialeakala. There's a divot.
Okay, so right on. So it's gonna be exciting. Now, if somebody wanted to go and climb Mount Fuji, and you don't have to give us how much you paid for that. What would be like a trip? You go there, maybe you land a couple days before, you get prepared. What does a trip to climb Mount Fuji cost? That's gotta be what, 20 grand?
No. So what we did, So the airplane flights, I think we paid $2,000 for the flight, okay, per ticket. All right. So $2,000 for the flight. We got an Airbnb in Tokyo, which sleeps up to 9 people or some shit. We got a complete house and backyard and everything, and I think that cost us a total of $1,600 for the whole week. All right, because if you try to stay in a hotel there, that's expensive, especially staying in Tokyo. Oh, forget about it. Tokyo is one of the most expensive cities in the world. It's just insane. So we opted to do the Airbnb route, just outside of the main part of Tokyo. So that cost $1,600 total, right? And then the tour itself was, I'm gonna say $160 a person or something like that.
That's it.
It wasn't expensive. The tour group wasn't expensive. And then there you go, and some food.
Now, do you have the option of just you and your son? Would you have paid more? I don't want to go in a group, just me and my son. Is that like an option?
You can go to Mount. The climbing season is between June and October, I believe. Late September, okay, is the climbing season, and anybody can go there. Anybody can climb it. You don't need a tour. Just get on a trail and you go.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
different trails, and you take the trail, and got to kind of know a little Japanese at times because you may not. Trails intersect and change, and they cross over, from what I understand. So it's where you got the guide, helps you go where you got to go. But yeah, you could do it. You could do it by yourself, not a problem.
Oh, I will never climb anything again without a guide. So Jessica and I, we were dating at the time. We weren't even engaged yet. So we took the kids to North Carolina, and she lived there for 5 years. We wanted to see all these waterfalls, and they're this one place that had 6 waterfalls, and you go around these trails and you go to see all of them. And and some, it's so it either had a 1 mile loop or a 10-mile loop.
Right.
So we get to this little fork in the road. And the signs were not clear. The signs were not clear at all. So we went this other way. And we're wearing sneakers. So we're now a couple of hours because, got Wyatt. He was smaller, and we're like a couple hours. We're climbing up like these steps. We're thinking that's going to take us back down. We get to about halfway up. There's a guy coming down. And
were you doing this in Tennessee?
We're in Tennessee or we were in North Carolina.
If we did Tennessee, it sounds awfully like mistakenly taking the High Ridge Trail in this area in Tennessee. I did the same shit, and I was like, whoa.
So we see this guy coming down, and because we have no cell reception, we're out in the middle of nowhere,
Yep.
And we're like, hey, and I'm like first one, hey, we don't know where we're at. Where we need to get back to where we're going. So he pulls up we're now high enough. He has his phone and a map, and and we're telling him what's going on, and he goes, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but your quickest way is to turn around. And Jessica goes, no, we're gonna die. That's not happening. And the guys, and I'm looking at this map, and I'm like, that's the only way. So now we turn around. We're going down. Luckily, it was on this mountain, and at one point there was like this hole coming out of the side of the mountain, and like this water, which we just assumed was safe to drink, just assumed. And we got something to drink, and I don't even know now. We're like coming around this bend, and we could see the parking lot, and there's this big log like on the side. We all sit down, and it's, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours later, and we're all I thought we were going to die. And I just look at Jessica, and I'm like, if we can do this together, like there's nothing stopping us as a group, and that's how I knew we were going to make it, and
we did that. We were in Tennessee, visiting my son, and I had taken my grandchildren were living up there. So I took my granddaughter and my grandson. It was about 2-3 years ago, and we decided to go on this hiking trip, and we took my dog with me too, if I recall. And we just were walking around and we just kind of walking down around this, like a reservoir area that's in the woods. In the woods, you can see the woods go up, and we take this trail, go up this High Ridge Trail. We start to go up, and before you know it, it's like we're way up where we didn't think we would be. And the grandkids have seemed to be like, our wife's like freaking out because she's got like a small heart condition going on. And she's like, I said, take it easy. Everybody take it slow. We'll get there. And we walked and we walked and we climbed and we climbed. There was slipping. There was falling. And we just kept, and my dog's just like, the little Cocker Spaniel was like jumping over things and like looking at us. Come on, let's go. If you can do it, we can do it, right? And we, but it took hours longer than we expected. And when you finally see that opening, when you finally see that parking lot again, it's like, oh my God, yes, the parking lot, water, please.
That's it. That was the most miraculous thing I'd ever seen in my life, was a parking lot. But yeah, I just we still have a picture. I see it come up on Facebook every now and then. It was just like the four of us we took is just like, that was, the most brutal thing.
You think it was gonna be the last picture you took?
Yeah, it was like gonna be the last picture we took, and we got the four of us, in tennis shoes. We're with a young child that's got Down syndrome that already has thyroid and lung, everything, so, and he's about right. But that was Wyatt though. He's a fight, just never give up. So
I did that in Hawaii, in Maui once. We were climbing the mountain there. I think we were going through like this bamboo forest up and kind of got into a zone where we're just walking along this trail, and I wanted to take a picture, so I'm backing up. This is like decades ago, and I'm backing up to take the picture, and I lost my footing, and the edge of where I'm at goes down like 3,000 feet, right? Literally. And I slipped off the edge, and I just, whoa, and I grabbed, there's a branch, and I just grabbed this branch, right, which is about maybe a foot from the top of the, where I fell. And I'm just like, help.
Man.
Help. And the first thing my son, fun fact of my son, I had just bought a cool, brand new Canon shot, digital camera, the original ones, that was silver and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I bought it just for this trip to take all the photos, right? My son, first words out of his mouth is, "Are you okay, Dad?" "No." "Is the camera okay?"
Yeah.
No, the camera's not okay. The camera went slamming into the red muds, crusted. The whole thing's demolished, because I had it on my wrist and it just swung right into the cliff. And my wife was destroying me. She says, "You spent $400 for a camera, you idiot, you back." I said, "Why? Nobody told me it was falling off. Why didn't you guys say that?"
So my buddy Butch, when he visited the Grand Canyon for the first time, took a little bus trip out there. And before the bus driver opened up the doors, he got out and he said, "There's only one piece of advice I'm going to tell all of you when you're taking pictures. When someone tells you to back up, don't." He goes, "You tell them to back up." He goes,
Right.
"Don't." He goes, every year somebody dies at the Grand Canyon, if not multiple people, from backing up for a photo. And
Same thing with the Cliffs of Moher in Ireland.
Yeah.
Same.
Oh yeah, God, they'll never find your body there.
No.
That just gets washed out instantly.
Well,
that's it. So, all right. So we're going to take a quick break. I have to give away. So the other day on Facebook, I made a post about the new Drew Estate Freestyle Live cigar. So I'm going to do a quick comment picker and pick the winner live for that. And at the end of the show, Drew Estate sent me a second one to give away. Now, these are our media packs. So these don't come with the entries to win, but you do get, the cigars, the cigar rest, the holder. You get everything in these. So I got to pick the winner from the Facebook group. And then
have you figured out what it is?
I think everybody knows it's an offshoot of the Papas Fritas, because it's the exact same cigar. Then I cut one open and showed the picture, and it is a mixed fill, cigar. So it's not all long leaf. So I think Ronnie from Secreto has nailed it. It's going to be an offshoot of the Papas Fritas with the H99, since they've been really pushing the H99. So I think that's what it's going to be. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly and see. I put everybody's name in here right before the show. Just to pick a winner. Eric, man, almost got shirtless Mike there on the on the win.
That was
and like I said, we're gonna give another one away.
How long do you?
Well, there wasn't a whole lot of names.
Like
I just pressed the button and it just spins on its own. So I think with the more names on it, because I see let's see, are we? You come back over here yet? All right, yeah, I think with because I see Alex doing it from Smoke Inn, like when there are the more names on it.
I do mine for over 30 seconds. I spin it. Just let it.
Oh,
run.
I didn't know that there was a. I didn't even think that there was a.
Yeah, you can set time on it.
Oh, okay. This is the first time I've ever used this. So the wheel of names.
Set the time. The wheel of names. You can set the time, and you can also set tunes to play on it. So I play different music.
Okay, I'll have to play around with that next time. So let me get that name here.
You can also put a picture. You can also put a picture in the middle of it. Anything you want.
I just saw where it said add an image, so I didn't get a chance to play around with it too much. So all right, so we're gonna move along to some. First of all, let's how long have you been doing Stogie Press now? We're gonna start off with that, reviewing cigars. Or did you start off reviewing cigars, or was it
going into 10 years? Going into 10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
Did it start off cigar reviewing, or did you start off with industry news?
No, started off with everything. Yeah, when I started it, so it started with a large focus on boutique level cigars. Always has been my jam. I focused a lot on the small brands, mainly because when I first started, I I had some small companies like Anki Cigars. I remember Anki sent me stuff way back then, and some other small companies found out about me, and I was doing some reviews of them and cigars that I would just buy in the shops and whatever, and but I was always trying to focus a lot on the boutiques because I felt that they're not getting a voice in a lot of this. I saw everything else. You see the big names. You don't see these small companies that were up and coming. So I kind of got my jam on that, and then it took time. The first year I remember going to well, I'll reel that back. I'll even go. So let me take you back in history if you want me to a little bit.
Yeah.
So so I've been smoking cigars since 1977. Okay, so you could do the math. Long time.
Well, year I was born, so yeah, that's the easy one for me.
And in the 1990s, a colleague of mine at Northrop Grumman, the two of us, we loved our cigars, and we decided that we were going to create a magazine, a print magazine, here in Central Florida, because we felt that Cigar Aficionado hit the scene, but it's just this big national thing, whatever. We said, you know what? Nobody's focused on the smaller community and whatever. And back then, you could smoke anywhere, right? I would sit at the Chili's. Yeah. I would sit at the Chili's bar, fire up a cigar, have a margarita, and that's what you did, right? Can you imagine doing that today? People would lose their shit.
God.
But that's the way it was. So what we did is we came up with this thing. We called it Central Florida Cigar Smoke Magazine, okay, CFCS. And we started writing some articles, and we got a advertising portfolio put together. We put a sampling of all our work together, what we're going to go do. The distribution was going to be, it was a free magazine. The distribution was going to be laid in all the places that were cigar friendly, and there were plenty of them in this area. Right. So we said that was going to be easy. And then all we had to do now to get this project going was get some advertisers. That should be easy, right? We have everything else ready to go.
Yeah.
We were engineers. We didn't have we weren't salesmen. We would go around. People said, I don't know who you are. I don't know what it is. Why would I invest in you? And we would explain what we're doing. And they're like, nah, I'm not interested. So the whole project failed. And I was like, okay, whatever. So life went on. I continued to smoke cigars. So did he. He ended up moving to Jupiter. I stayed here, and I just enjoyed cigars for quite a number of years. And then about 10 years ago, my new wife, who is a web developer, graphic artist, and all of that, says to me, why don't you just create a website? I mean, what do you need a print magazine for? She says, I'll create your website. So we went through, came up with some names, and we came up with a name called SpaceCoastCigars.com. Pretty cool name, actually.
Yeah.
If I owned a cigar shop, I should call it Space Coast Cigars. But we started it with that, and that's how things began, right? People found me from that, and started getting some little bit of traction. No advertising, but it didn't matter because you got a website. You're running a website. It was easy. It cost me $7.95 for the domain. My wife set it up. It cost me anything to do all the graphics work, and we're off and running, right? So we got this thing going, and then I moved up to the Dearborn, Michigan area on a 4-month assignment in the dead of winter. The year that they had the 90 plus inches of snow. It was like one of the worst snow winters they've had in a long time. So I get up there, we're staying in this Town Place Suites, right? And I got me, my wife, and another dog at the time, right? Got that. And we're in this place, and it's, okay, so we got a kitchen cooking facility, whatever, and I go to work every day. I was consulting with Ford. I come back, and I would kind of go outside and bundle up like all the people up north do, try to smoke a cigar, and I'm trying to write notes, and I'm like, I'm freezing my ass off. The cigar's not doing anything right. I'm saying, this sucks. I can't do this. This is terrible. And I have to write articles, right? How am I going to do this, right? So I said, we got to find a cigar shop here. So I started searching for some cigar shops in the Dearborn area. And I come across one called Don Yeo's. It's right down in Dearborn, Michigan, right in the main road. So I go down there, and I'll never forget walking into that shop the first time. I got my Red Sox hat on. I walk in, and there's this 6'8" gringo behind the counter by the name of Ryan Gallimore.
Ah.
And Ryan looks at me and says, "You can leave." So he's going to break my balls. And I said, "Oh, I like this place already." I said, "Fuck you, I'm here to buy a cigar." All right. So we get to talking, and we got to be friends instantly that day. And he asked me, what I do, and, the engineering side. And I told him this little project I got. And we're sitting down, and he looks at me and he goes, "Jimmie, you travel all over the world for business. Why do you have a regional online site? That's the dumbest thing I ever heard of." And I'm like, "You're right." He says, "You got to come up with a better name, Jim." And now, mind you, at this point, he's starting a company called Swinger Cigars.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, was that before Swingers?
That was right at the time he's doing Swinger Cigars. He needs a website, right? So there's a Saturday afternoon we're there. I look at him, and I get my wife talking to him, and I said, "Why don't you go, think about this, and we're going to talk this other thing." We get talking, and we start going through domains, Brian and I, and we come up with Stogie Press. Boom, $7.95. I told my wife, I said, "Why don't you take this back and take everything from Space Coast Cigars, which wasn't a lot yet, and move it all over and redesign the site into something very cool, and we'll launch it that way. We'll rename it, and I'll put an announcement out there." That's what we're doing. So she goes off and does that. We launch Stogie Press. Now, at this point, she also gets the contract to do the Swinger Cigar website at the same time. So she's all happy because now she could stay back and do her thing while I'm at the cigar shop doing my thing. It's a win-win. Okay. So now Ryan looks at me and says, "Well, now that you're in the cigar media, you can go to the IPCPCR." I'm like, he says, "How do I do that?" He goes, "I'm not a retailer." He goes, "No, it's easy. You just need to get a media membership." Where do I do that? Get on the website. At that time it was $350. Put it in, put my website name in. Boom. I get admitted to the IPCPCR membership. He says, "Okay." And I buy tickets to go to Vegas. And that was in like March or so, like not even probably February. I get the tickets and everything. And I told my wife, I said, "We're going to Vegas in July." She goes, "What?" I said, "We're going to Vegas in July." Right. So off we go. And Ryan, I have to say, if it wasn't for Ryan, Stogie Press would not exist. Hands down. 100% Ryan made Stogie Press happen because he walked me around, because he knew everybody in the industry running the shop. And he walked me around that floor, and he introduced me to all these people. All right. All the big names. "This is my friend, blah, 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 blah." And one after the other. And, I came home with these samples. Now, mind you, along the way, as I'm doing this work, I'm sending my message to my old friend saying, "Hey, you want part of this? This is our dream." "Nah, I'm too busy." "I only smoke Cubans now." Here's every excuse in the book every time I ask him. And he's persona non grata on this, so that was my thing anyway. And we do this, and it just, the first year there, everybody was like, very cordial and whatever. Got to meet people. Went back the second year, and we went to New Orleans, and we went back, and we do the others. And it took about, I'd say New Orleans was when I first started to get advertising on the site. My first true advertiser on my site was Mike Melody with MLB Ventures. Yeah. Okay. He was the first one on board. And then DBL Cigars came on board. And then I had some others. And you began to see how the industry, they test you. Okay, they really do. They want to make sure that you're going to persevere, that you're not just coming in and going. All right, because you don't want to just start one of these things just for the free cigars. That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not what it's about. It's about, do you have the fortitude to sit there and do this day in, day out, promoting the passion of this industry, okay, for the consumers to read, to understand, and are you building a following over time? And as that began to happen, then some more people came on board with some advertising, and then some bigger names came on. People contacted me saying, "Hey, Jimmie, I'm seeing traffic coming to our site from your site. We want to advertise with you." All right. Because the way I would link, I always put the hot links into whatever I reviewed. So it just started, the engine started churning, and now it's kind of pretty much, after 10 years now going on, it's a successful adventure. I'm not buying a new Corvette with it, but it certainly defrays my household budget to be able to go out there. I buy cigars with whatever I make. It takes me to events. I'm going to be up in Atlanta on the 10th of June for an event with Cigar Mike. I'm going to be in New York on the 29th in the Bronx. Can't say what's exactly happening yet, but I could just tell you something's happening in the Bronx.
I'm assuming that's the Amendola event.
I cannot say.
Okay.
No, it's not the Amendola event.
Okay.
Okay, but something is happening in the Bronx on the 29th on Thursday. I think there'll be a press release out on it soon, from what I understand. So,
cool.
Right. Well, we're gonna back up for just 1 second, because you've known Ryan forever. How's Ryan doing? I kind of give him a space. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Ryan's doing good. He's hanging out down in Nicaragua there for a while.
I was wondering what was going on.
He's trying to set up a kind of an accessory style company and swag company to help companies down in Nicaragua, get all of that together, kind of parlaying some of the, the work, the knowledge and stuff that he gathered doing the work at Drew Estate,
which he's good at. He told me
he killed himself very well in that.
That's it. He told me what it took to get those spray can lighters to the market, and just what he went through. If anybody, which I'm not going to tell anybody, but what he went through to get those, it would boggle people's minds what it took to get that spray can lighter, and I wouldn't even have known how to even start that, and then he got that, and then it came to fruition.
So he's able to come up, take the creative ideas and stuff that they have and be able to turn it into something. So he was trying to do something with that. I know he was back in the States for Mother's Day or whatever, but I don't know if he's back in Nicaragua again. I know he rented a place down there for like a year or something. But he's in with a partner. He was in with a partner, or he works for a guy now that formed a business around this. So he's doing some good stuff.
All right. So is his family still in Miami, or they go back to Michigan?
Yeah, they were still in Miami last time I talked to him. Yeah, I don't think they want to go back to Michigan. The family.
No. Yeah, I'm sure they do. Nobody wants to go back to Michigan after living in Miami, Right. So we're gonna get into so you start doing cigar reviews. Walk us through how you review, because like I said, because on your website you actually kind of lay out how you do your cigar reviews, to where most places it is like secret on how they do their reviews. How do you go about doing a review?
So basically, I try not to review a cigar fresh when I get it, number one. I want it in my humidor for probably at least a month, okay?
Okay.
Many times more than that. There's a line of things in there. So when I get stuff, sometimes it's like, there's like, you're here, and I got all of this in front of me I got to get through, because you came in here and now these guys are way ahead of you in the lineup. That's the first thing. Second thing I do then is when I actually do a review, my review of every cigar I review is done at 11 o'clock in the morning. Okay. First cigar of the day. I already had breakfast about 9 o'clock. I've already had my 2, maybe 3 cups of coffee if I needed it. I've had a glass of water. My palate is good. I'm in my lounge in here. If it's the winter time, whatever, and it's cool, the door's open. Summertime, right now, I've got a split AC system up here.
Okay.
And that's dropping 76 degrees of cool, comfortable air in here. So it's a cool, comfortable environment all the time. So it's pretty much solid. The environment that I'm taking the cigars from is a controlled electrical humidification and refrigeration environment. So it's always at the same. Everything's the same. Everything's checked with my humidimeter to be within the range it needs to be.
Now are those in a separate humidor from your regular cigars?
No.
Okay.
They'll rotate into that humidor.
Oh, okay.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 small, humidor.
Yeah.
Not small, but and then I've got cabinets, and I'll rotate stuff into that. When I know I'm gonna have, I have a shelf on there. There's one shelf of what's being reviewed, and then I'll rotate stuff into that, and I got other stuff in the bottom because you got to keep your humidor full, otherwise it doesn't.
Oh yeah.
It's not efficient, right? So then what I do is every cigar. I used to always do just a straight cut. That was my cut. So every cigar got the same cut. But now that I've got my handy dandy baller cutter, every cigar is cut with this. So same cut on cigars. Go through your standard pre-light aromas, feel, look, touch, whatever. Now, I don't take any points off for anything on pre-light unless it's a really tight drawer on the pre-light. And even then, I got to be careful because tight draws on pre-light turn out to be just fine once you ignite it.
Yeah.
So you're like, why are you killing somebody for a tight drawer if it ignites and you got smoke? If I'm not getting smoke, then you're gonna get dinged on the front end if it's a very low volume smoke because of that tight drawer. Maybe it opens up later, but then you get a little ding on it. I don't take off points for like any of the unless there's if I'm not getting any aroma on the barrel or the foot, then then I take off a point. And every cigar, by the way, starts at a 94.
Okay.
That's the starting point. So I deduct points off the 94, and then I add. There are 6 bonus points you can add onto it. So if nothing was absolutely wrong with the cigar, the deduct points, you could get 100. All right, and that's going to be based on things like a really long ash, if it was a very complex with nuances and balance, complex and balanced, where it wasn't spiking you in weird places. If it's if there's oil, if you get a little bit, if you're starting to get some nice oiling right below the burn line, right below the burn line. That I think is important because that's just showing the quality of the leaf as it's heating up to get that. So a lot of times you don't get that. If it's a perfectly straight burn line, almost under a microscope, we say, "Oh crap, there's no jag on that." Things like that are special bonus points. And then when it comes to flavor, then it comes down to what are the point deductions. So a lot of the point deductions will end up being, construction burn. So a jag in the burn is going to lose a point. An off burn is going to lose a point. A flat burn cone will lose a point. I want a burn cone to have a bit of a rosebud on it at the end. Okay. It shouldn't be pointy, like a point, but it should have that, kind of like a rosebud or an inverted strawberry looking thing at the end. If like there's some pet peeve things in there, which I get once in a while, if I try to take the band off and it's just on so tight that I have to, like, I'm going to hurt the wrapper, you're losing a point for that. I'm sorry, guys. Don't put your bands on so tight.
You hear that, Alec Bradley? Stop screwing up. Yeah. Now I want to interrupt you. We're gonna stop here with the bands, and then I've had a couple cigars lately, and I haven't reached out to anybody to figure it out. You know, they'll get the cone. I mean, it'll almost come to a point, and it'll start to burn, but that cone stays. And then when I go to chip it off, it's like a brick. Like sometimes I'll have to take a cutter and actually cut that cone off. What's been caused? What causes that? Do you know offhand?
It's not fully burning what's inside. It's not fully combusting the filler.
Oh, is that what it is? I wasn't sure if it was like a stick in the middle, a stem. But I said it's just been I've gotten it a couple times and I didn't know, and it's like rock hard. So okay, so
the whole thing is it's charcoaling itself so much that it's solidifying it.
Okay.
Which also I don't think is good because you're probably getting a lot of tarry earth on it then.
Yeah, it gets
a lot of moisture.
Right?
Yeah. I get the bitterness when that happens.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the bands, we all know Alec Bradley has the worst bands sometimes when it comes to those filthy hooligans.
The only one.
Yeah, they're not the only. We just bust their ass because one day I'll get a clean one off a cigar, but yeah, bands are a little,
And then flavors, if you get, I'm not, if the cigar is nicely balanced, it kind of falls in the bonus point. If it has decent flavor, I'm not dinging flavors, okay? If something is very floral, doesn't have to be overly complex, but it's very floral. There are people that don't like floral cigars.
I don't like that. I'm
not a fan. That doesn't mean it's a bad cigar.
Right.
No, you don't like it.
Yeah,
the guy that likes floral probably loves that cigar.
Yeah, like an Opus X. The floral is through the roof for me on that. I cannot smoke the cigar. It's just not my. They always burn good, no issues. Yeah. It's just that floral's not my cup of tea.
Yeah. So people that don't like it, okay, that's fine. I've had people tell me, "Oh, that cigar's garbage." I say, "What's wrong with that cigar?" Man, it's too floral. I said, "That's you."
Yeah.
The guy over here that loves floral thinks that's a great cigar. That's fine. I'm not going to judge it either way. I'm going to tell you what it is. It's floral, rich floral, nuanced floral, okay? But if it has heavy mineral pencil lead type taste, you're not winning on that. That I'm sorry, that's terrible. Okay. Charcoaly, just like you said, where it gets that charcoal bitterness. And bitterness is a funny thing because there's good bitter and bad bitter, right?
Yes.
You can have like citrus peel bitter, which is good.
Yeah.
Mouth-watering, good bitter. Okay. Bitter dark chocolate or dry cocoa, good bitter.
I get that. And when I used to doing reviews, I would say that, I'm getting this bitter chocolate. And I always say that's not bad. No. I love it. Right. I love that bitter
Sometimes
chocolate.
You got a caveat that that's not bad.
Yes.
And then, and there are other things that I guess there's a whole list on my site that explains it all. This whole article, it breaks it all down to what I deduct the points for. Most of them are single point deductions. There are some double point deductions. But I will say this, if I smoke a cigar and I find out when I'm doing this that cigar is really going to score like, let's just, I think below an 85. Okay. 86, 85. I'm not going to review it. I'm not putting a review out on it. I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah.
Because it takes me 4 hours to finalize all of this stuff. I got to smoke it. And remember, that cigar, not only did I have to smoke it, but I have to power through it just to see if there was anything it had to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's not, I mean, you would take that cigar and put it in the ashtray before it got to the second third. I got to smoke it all the way down. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Just to see if it has anything. Does it get any better? Can I give it anything, any goodness? So you waste your time on that. You waste your time in mouthwash afterwards. So I'm not going to write articles, and I'm also not doing, because I'm not going to bash your baby, right? It's your baby, and I'm not going to bash a company. Okay, so if somebody asks me if I smoked XYZ cigar brand Z, I would say either no, and I would say, what do you think of it? And I would just listen to him. Or if it's somebody I know well, I say, yeah, I didn't really like that cigar.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go out there publicly and bash a brand that somebody's invested a bunch of money in, because this venture, Kerr knows this is not inexpensive to get started in the cigar business. There's an upfront investments, and when somebody bashes your brand, suddenly it's like, well, God, man, nobody's going to buy my cigars now.
Oh, it's because everybody's, I mean, especially when you deal with opinion. But I had a question for you, because this came up during our interview, Kevin. I think it was the last interview before we talked about ash. I know you deduct some points for flaky ash. So I am curious on your thoughts on flaky ash, but we also talked about like the color of ash.
Yeah,
because everybody's always like, look at this pristine white ash, but we were talking about that. Like, I've had some dark ash on a cigar, but the cigar was a flavor bomb.
Yeah,
and I've had some pristine white, perfect ash on cigars that had
stack of dimes,
very little to no flavor. So start off with your flaky ash deduction.
Yeah, well, flaky ash, I deduct a point for a flaky ash because I feel that a cigar journey, as an hour and a half, 2-hour journey, is supposed to be enjoyable. And last thing I want to do, especially if you think about somebody who's wearing a nice suit, right? Got a lawyer, doctor sitting in a nice suit in a lounge, and now this ash keeps flaking on his suit. That's just nasty. Okay, I don't like that, and you shouldn't have that. That's terrible. Okay, so I deduct a point for flaky ashes. When it comes to ash color, so that's a fun topic always, and I've been called out on it, positively and negatively.
Have you? That was going to be my next question. Have you been called out on something? So
I've been called out
cigar
on
reviewer. If you're not being called out on something, then obviously,
yeah.
I've been called out on the deduction for ash color, and the reason, and in fact, Willie Herrera called me out once on it.
No way.
He goes, "Did you like the cigar?" He goes, "Come on, did you like the cigar? Does it matter?" And I was like, and it's like, okay, but here's where that came from. I'll explain where that came from. Complete transparency. I was sitting down here in my lounge with Robert Holt one day, and I was coming up with my rating system, and we were talking about it, and he was saying, okay, I like all of this, but he says, one thing you missed is ash color. And I said to him, does it really matter? And he says to me, yes, and here's why. And he said, take your charcoal in your grill. What color is it when you put it in the grill?
Black.
What color is it when you put the meat on the grill?
White.
All right. You know what happened? All the organics have burned. Now, when you translate that into leaf, when all the organics burn, organics is flavor when it comes to leaf. Okay, when all the organics have burned, it has given you all it can. So when the ash is white, it's giving you all it can. Okay, when the ash is like a dark gray, it's not giving you 100% of what it could give you. They could have had that combustion, that blend, that set up so you can burn a little more, a little hotter, just enough to burn the rest of that ash, okay, to get it to where it was white or light gray. And it would then have given you, it might and most likely would have given you more flavor. And then if it's dark, right, super dark, it's not giving you as much flavor as it could either. That's the philosophy of that. It made total sense to me as a scientist. I said, I understand that. I'm going to go with that. And I went with it. And because I have gone with it, there's not a lot of cigars that I've had that I actually had to deduct a point for ash color, because most cigars out there, 90+% of them are either going to be white or light gray.
Yeah.
Right? You're not going to get that dark gray ash on a lot of cigars. So it's a rarity that it happens. But when it does, I'm sorry, it's my system. And if I took a point off for somebody 3 years ago, I got to take a point off for you too. I'm not going to be disingenuous and say all of a sudden it's okay. Then I have to go back and change theirs. It's like, no, it makes sense to me.
It does make sense, and it is rare that I get one, but I do get a dark, like a super dark gray, bordering on the black sometimes. And I've often thought of, and I've just never delved into what was causing that. I thought, maybe like the soils it was grown in, whatever. I don't.
Well, they'll tell you that a white ash, the magnesium down in like the Dominican, there's more magnesium in the soil, I understand, and the magnesium creates a whiter ash. It burns a little hotter, so it combusts that leaf better. I don't know. It is
what it is. You've never gotten in like a fight with somebody, have you? Like a verbal, like utterly pissed at you?
No.
Oh, yeah. I think most.
Because then we'll change the conversation to baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, I've only had a couple. Yeah, back when we used to do reviews, I only had a couple people mad at me, but that was probably justifiable. I was a rube back then. I'm a rube now. What am I talking about? But
I've had people call me out on other stuff. Even the idea of a flaky ash, right, or the ash falling too much on a cigar, right? It's one thing having a long ash, which is nice, but they don't have to have super long ashes, right? An inch and a half is a nice ash. But if that ash is falling every half inch, you're smoking it like this, crap,
Yeah, I have a score sheet too, and then I have a negative one for overly excessive. If it falls at a half inch, I said it doesn't super bother me. The ones that bother me are the ones that are constantly, you go to take a puff, and the ash is just going into, and I'm like, this is ridiculous.
And I have pictures. I could show you a picture sometime from 10 years ago easily, where I had a Cuban sandwich torpedo. It was a $2 cigar, right? Cuban sandwich. And one of my friends had a shop here that he had brought in. They actually were made over in Tampa. I forget the name of the company. But I smoked that cigar, and I carried that ash from the foot all the way down to the nub.
Yeah.
Wow, on a Cuban sandwich.
On a Cuban sandwich.
And
I went like this with it, and it didn't break.
That's impressive right there. I know the one thing that people like doing, especially with Dunbarton cigars, is getting like a 2-inch ash and then setting the cigar down on top of the ash, and it will balance itself. And Steve is notorious for his cigars being able to do that. And that's a good
solid construction, stacking times, very nice. Yeah, all those
that's it. And then you also do Kerr. Kerr started off, his journey interviewing or rating cigar lounges. As you've done too. How'd you get into reviewing lounges?
So I would go, because I travel a lot on business, so I'm all over the country and all over the world before the pandemic. So what I decided to do is wherever I go, before I make my business plans, I find out where the factory or the office I'm going to visit is. Then I find out where the nearest cigar shop to that is. And then I book my hotel room near the cigar shop and have my rental car. I'll drive to work. All right. Or at least somewhere in between, but I'm close enough to the cigar shop, because I'm always going to be at the cigar shop after work. And I always want to make sure it's open a little later than, 7 o'clock at night. So I would go into these shops, and I would always take photos and whatever and take a few notes. And I said, I'm going to just start writing about these, because I don't see anybody doing that other than what Kerr was doing at the time. I said, I don't see this in the media guys doing it. And then I went to the next level, where I give an award out every year to the best lounge that I've been to that year. I mean, if I went to like 7 new lounges, let's just say, somebody gets an award. Last year it was a place called Bongo Ron's. Bongo Ron's is in Connecticut. And if you ever get up there, it is a absolutely beautiful place right down off the Long Island Sound on the Connecticut side, down off the Connecticut River there. It's a harbor town. old sea captain's house. What a beautiful place! Absolutely gorgeous. Well deserved.
Yeah, I remember years ago, Jessica and I were in New Jersey visiting her family, and I reached out to you and I go, Jimmie, where do I go? And you're like, Sticks, Rawway. And I'm like, that's 15 minutes away. So I looked up, I said, of all the lounges, I'm like, I'm going to go to Sticks.
Cool place.
Cool place. Now,
he has another one now. He just opened a second one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How like in Rawway or like further
No,
away?
it's in shit, I gotta remember where it's at. I was supposed to go up there for the opening, but we couldn't figure out the timing correct, and my work and everything was tying me up. The hardest part of working for a living is it ties up my cigar.
Now, do you have any lounges in Japan that you're gonna? Do they have a lot of lounges, or what's the smoking situation out there?
They have some lounges. I mean, there's one like where I used to live in Nagoya. There was this little lounge that I went to all the time, which is pretty cool. It's a very small place. There is a few in Tokyo that I know of that I'll probably find my way into maybe. I mean, I'm going to bring a bunch with me, and most of the time what they have there is Cubans, and that's just become a kind of a, like I was just in Madrid, right? I was just in Madrid, and I was in a lounge there, beautiful lounge, and the humidor is really big. It had about a 2 foot by 2 foot space of Cuban cigars. Everything else was everything we like. It was like walking into an American humidor.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Had all of this stuff in there, right? And that's actually where I found a very fascinating cigar on the shelf, which is called, are you ready for this, Kerr? It's the Continente. It's the El Viaje Continente. And oh, by the way, if you look at the image on the side, it's got the compass on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I had to do a double take on it.
Oh my God. Kerr, get on the phone.
He's been around for a long time. I mean, he's been in this business for a long time with that brand, I understand. But it's primarily a Spanish brand. He lives in Barcelona, I understand. And I picked that cigar. It was a Lancero. I walked out of that lounge smoking that Lancero because you can't smoke in the lounges over there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm walking down the street with my colleague, and I was like, God, this is an awesome cigar. So I went back a couple of days later before I left. I bought a box. I'm making like 30 in a box. They're only like $7 a piece.
Oh,
I was like, how is this possible? $7 Lancero that burns the way it did and gave me all this flavor. So I found out you could buy them in Neptune.
Can you? Okay.
You get them in Neptune for like $6.30.
Really?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
If
you're looking for a really fine Lancero at $6.30, yeah. It's not a shit cigar for $6.30. It's a really, really nice cigar.
Wow, that is a good price. Now, Kerr, when you were doing reviews of your lounges, we'll ask Jimmie what he looks for. What did you had your 3 points? What were you looking for in a lounge? I
did what Jimmie did when I would travel, and this is 7 years ago. I'd do the same thing where I was going to be working, map out the cigar lounges, get my hotel room, and and that was my my gig. I always look for the Stogie Road 3, I called it, is location, selection, and staff. So location, I wanted to be able to provide folks with some feedback on the location of the cigar lounge, but also, was it easily accessible? Did you have to drive a little bit? How's the parking? I mean, all those things. The selection was, what type of selection do they have? Do they have your standard cigars? Do they have boutiques? Do they have a nice humidor? Is it over humidified? How's the lounge and everything? And then staff, were they helpful? Were they friendly? Because I rated it as the location will get you there, the selection will get you to buy, the staff will get you to stay and keep coming back. And if they had a great selection and a great staff, but maybe it took a little bit of a couple of extra turns, it was a little bit hard to get to. It was worth my time. There's plenty of cigar lounges and cigar shops off of the highways. You pop off and you got your usual suspects in there, and the people's behind the counter aren't very helpful. But if you want to pick up a cigar, you could do that. But that's the way I always rated the cigar lounges that I went to, and always passed along that information to folks when they contacted me on what cigar lounges they should visit.
Now, what are you looking for, Jimmie?
So I'm pretty much on that page. I will also include the fact that when it comes to a humidor, I want to make sure it has big brands, medium brands, and small brands. Okay, doesn't have to carry everything because nobody can carry everything, but at least the right selection. I want to also, I go in. When I go in, I don't announce myself who I am right away. I just go in and I catch the vibe. I just want to sit there, like I'm just somebody that's not part of that area. I'm a traveler. I just walked into your lounge, and I'm going to sit there. I'm going to sit at the bar. If there's some people at the bar, is it inclusive? If I turn and mention something about a game on TV, is there a conversation that can get started? Okay, or is it this kind of cliquey thing that you get the vibe of? Because I don't like cliquey lounges. I like lounges where people are friendly and open to conversation, not overly conversive. I mean, I get it. Sometimes people are busy doing other things, but the attentiveness of the staff, both at a bar or whatever, and in the humidor, the bar doesn't necessarily have to be a full liquor bar. Okay, it could be beer and wine. It could just be nothing. Okay, but if it's nothing, do they offer at least somewhere you can get sodas and mixes? And some places don't even let you sell that. I mean, there's laws against things in this country, not right. But if the law allows it, are they at least do they have ice? Do they have if you could bring your own in, bring and I have you bring a bottle of rum. Can I get some ice and a Coke? I'll buy a Coke. And I look for that. Comfortable seating, clean bathrooms. Nothing pisses me than walking into a bathroom and there's fucking toilet paper all over the place and there's crap stains all over the toilet. It's like, go clean your bathroom throughout the night, especially on a busy night. You got to be in there taking care of that because that's disgusting in a cigar shop. Okay, for multiple reasons, right? Because you're touching things and you're walking out and you're touching stuff in a humidor. I mean, I don't want to gross people out, but just think about that for a second. Okay, so that is
I know where. Yeah,
I mean, that's important. That's important to me. Parking, like you say, I think parking's important, man. If I can't find a parking spot, it might be a nice place, but there's nowhere to park. I can't come to your lounge, right?
Yeah.
Do they have? I do see if they have a membership program, okay? And what does the membership program offer you? Like at my lounge here in Executive, it costs $75 a year, but we get 25% off all our purchases of cigars, accessories. So if I buy a box of cigars, it's 25% off. So if your $75 goes a long way. It doesn't come with a locker. If you want a locker, you pay extra.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't need a locker. But that I think is important if the price makes sense, right? If you're forcing people to go into a membership to have a locker and not being able to get the discount, it's kind of not fair. What I mean? People want to be part of the family, if you will. So offer them family membership, right? To give them some discount. So those are the things I generally look for. I think that probably covers it. And I do have a system on that where I actually have a spreadsheet that I have point values on these things, and they're weighted. It's not those are weighted points for different things. Some things are weighted more than others. Okay. And at the end, it comes up with a score at the bottom. At the end of the year, I just look at the scores and I say, okay, that one's number one.
So what should being the two of you, have visited lounges, many lounges, more than I'll probably ever visit in my life. We hear a lot about lounges, especially COVID took down a lot of lounges. Then a lot of lounges haven't survived after COVID. They can't seem to find people to come back. What can lounges do? Like, what is like one or two things to get people inside the lounge to just come in and check it out, have a cigar?
Good events. You got to have events. You don't have to have live music, but you got to have good events. You got to work definitely with your brands and make sure you have, like my lounge every month has a monthly meeting. We're sponsored by a particular brand. You're always getting great discounts, great raffles, great fun raffles, not just simple. I mean, they make a game out of it. It's like a game show. They have a fun time with this, and food. There's always food available at that. So it's always, but it costs you $20 to get into the to the event, right? But you get your $20 worth. You know what I'm saying? You get a cigar, you get food, you get a raffle ticket, and if you buy stuff, you get more raffle tickets. I think that's important. Other than that, I mean, personally, what can you do better to bring people in? You just get your folks have to put out word of mouth. Keep it, are you in the right location? Sometimes you're just not in the right location. I mean, is there a cigar shop like a mile away from you? I mean, I see that all the time. It's like new guy opens up, he's a mile away from somebody else. It's like, you really think you're going to do well with that? The other guy's been there for 16 years. Try to put him out of business? Ain't going to happen.
Exactly.
Sometimes that works, though. I've seen it happen.
Oh, well,
especially if you're offering something that the other lounge isn't. But
I've seen that happen. I've seen that happen locally here. Something a lounge doesn't offer, refuses to offer, something else opens up, offering all that those people want. I think it might be rare, but it does.
Yeah.
It does happen. Kerr,
they grab a certain demographic and clientele. That'll work.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. What are your thoughts, Kerr? What can lounges do to get people in?
I think having events.
Ladies' nights too.
Ladies' nights, but I think having events. I think the ladies' nights kind of speak to having events and having them specific. I know some of the lounges around here that are successful also have they'll have a big events like cigar events with brands, but they also support some local groups, so they'll do local group events as well. So that always keeps the locals flowing through there. So it's not always a big Drew event, a Drew Estate event, or Agonor Salif. It's the local, Whiskey Charlie Bravo event, or the local business event. So they do cater to the brands that are in their humidor and have some great deals. And like Jimmy said, food and all that, but they also serve local business groups or local social groups as well, because those folks are going to keep coming in all the time. And I think really having a very good, knowledgeable, and supportive and helpful staff, and that's what was the most important out of my ratings, always boiled down to the staff and the lounge, and everything goes along with that. But there's something to be said when I go into a lounge and they welcome you, they ask you if you need anything, they engage you, they have a conversation with you. They're not overbearing, they're not following you in the humidor, but they're also just not sitting there going, hey, let me know if you need anything. Yeah. And that's when you have an engaging staff, that's when you'll smoke something different. That's when you'll smoke a boutique. That's when you'll leave. You'll go in wanting to buy 2 cigars and you'll leave with 6. And I think that's what keeps those businesses not only successful and thriving, but I also think it keeps the local folks actively coming in there. And if anybody is in from out of town and they stop in, they're going to tell all their friends about it. They're going to talk about it. They're going to tell their friends if they're visiting, who are local about it. And that's truly important is in embracing your local community and being more actively involved locally and having folks that truly are knowledgeable, but also very friendly and engaging.
You know, you talk about friendly and engaging. You know, so I used to visit my local lounge. I mean, I don't frequent as rarely as much as I used to. I mean, I used to go there 2 or 3 days a week. But I remember coming in for the first time, new lounge. I was kind of a fairly new cigar smoker. I mean, new as in, you know, getting into this industry. So I was still apprehensive about going into certain lounges. And I remember going into that lounge for the first time, and you walk in and there's a group of guys, like 5 or 6 guys talking. And they stopped their conversation, and every one of them looked up, hey, you know, greeted me as the newcomer. And then as I got to be part of that group, that was one thing that we always wanted to make sure that everybody that walked in was greeted, you know, to make sure, hey, you know, it's how you doing? You know, what, you know, welcome, you know, and then when they come out of the humidor, it's just like, is this a click? You know, we'd always be like, hey, you know, come on. If the seats were like full, I would get up. Hey, come on over, you know, have a seat with us. You know, where are you from? And those are the greatest lounges. And the food always brings me in. The same lounge once a month. It was a specialty potluck. It would be barbecue, or it would be, you know, in the wintertime, chili. It would be desserts.
Oh yeah, that's another thing, right? Doing like having chili cook-offs and barbecue. You know, people bring the patrons come in and they offer their fine cooking, and you get a judging of it is always fun. Those types of things are fun, and community outreach. Okay, yeah. I think lounges are part of a community. They need to earn respect in the community, because some people will thumb their noses at cigar smoking, but they need to recognize that they're giving back. They give back to the community. You know, get involved in charity golf fundraisers and charity, you know, get involved with the local art fair, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Get involved in that, and people will, you may not win all those people into your lounge because they're not cigar smokers, but they might be bringing somebody around to this event who is a cigar smoker and realize, oh, there's a cigar shop here. Cool. I didn't know that. Thank you.
I have a lot of my friends reach out to me and talk about cigar shops who don't smoke, but they're like, hey, we know that you have your cigar brand. Hey, have you ever been to this cigar shop? My friend goes there. You know, you might want to give it a try. And like you said, Jimmy, it's just being involved and being visible will always benefit, especially when you are reaching out into the community.
Oh, and the other thing I judge a lounge on is the quality of the air.
Yes. I have a local lounge that I do try and a different lounge than I was talking about before. You know, the air. Jimmy, you were there. I'm not gonna badmouth him. You know, here locally, man, it's brutal. You get 15, 20 guys in there, and it's just after like 2 hours, I gotta go.
Yeah, if you're going out on a date with your girlfriend or your wife, and you have a dinner and you go to the cigar lounge, even if she doesn't smoke, she just, you know, she wants to be with you. She doesn't want to be in a smoky room. All right. They don't like it. It gets in their hair, it gets in their clothes. They can't, some girls can't stand that. And that becomes a no-win after dinner.
Yeah.
Nope.
That's it. What are you smoking a lot of lately, Jimmy? I know you got your reviews. Do you have a go-to you've been really digging on lately?
Well, I've been really enjoying the DAV 5th Anniversario. Okay, that one really piqued me a lot. I also have been smoking through a number of the Mickey Peg cigars. I think those Old Saint cigars are solid, especially the Colorado. I'm loving that Colorado right now. I think I have a few left, and I'm just like,
same here.
Gotta put them away, man. I'm gonna put those away for a while and just let them see how they age a little bit. I got, I tend to, this afternoon I fired up another on the Crown 10. I can't get enough of those, man.
It's as in from the big guys. I don't think I smoke anything more than the Undercrown 10. It's
I just love that cigar.
It is just a solid smoke.
You know, that's been an awesome cigar. And then some of the small stuff, like I know I've talked about it before, but company over in your neck of the woods, over there, Tarpon Springs, okay, Seraphin de Cuba. Okay,
I've heard of them. I haven't had the chance to smoke one yet.
Take a trip. Go take a trip up to Tarpon Springs.
Yeah, it's not too far away. Yeah.
Go take your wife up there for some Greek food, because they have a nice Greek town right there. So it's all, the whole strip has got all these Greek restaurants and things. Take her up there for a little Greek food, and then go visit this lounge called Seraphin de Cuba, and he hand rolls everything in the lounge. It's all made there. Okay, and he has some really good craft that he's been putting out. Goes back third or fourth generation Cuban American, typical history. But it's a shop. It's not a lounge. It's a shop with a bunch of shirts hanging inside and apparel, with some cigars in there. It's just mostly all his cigars, and his people, they just sit outside underneath an awning on a cement patio in plastic chairs, and they just watch the people go by. It's one of those old school shops. You just sit outside and just have a conversation. It's a very pleasurable afternoon to have in Tarpon Springs, and they're very inclusive, very good people, and his craft is amazing. His Principal de Gales, the Prince of Wales, is a phenomenal cigar. Okay.
Oh, Jessica loves Greek food.
He's rebranding a lot of these old Tampa brands. He's buying all the old brand marks. So
right on. Well, I got one more. Actually, I have like a whole page of questions. We're gonna have you back on, Jimmie, and I got like, if you got time in the next month, because I have got like a whole other page of questions to ask to get your opinion on. But this is Jessica about 20 minutes ago would have been snapping her fingers.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I can't believe it was almost 2.5 hours.
I can't believe. So I'm gonna reach out to you, Jim. We're gonna have you on again. But my last question for you: which boutique cigar maker, in your opinion, should be blowing up but isn't? Like they just have it. Like you're smoking. For me, like Mickey Peg, All Saints.
DBL.
DBL. Yeah, DBL's been grinding for years. DBL. How are they not?
Just opened up a brand new factory down in the Dominican.
Oh, did they?
10,000 square feet. They partnered with the box factory that they work with. They took all that box factory that was down there. They moved it into another facility, brand new facility. So they got their boxes being made there. They got the cigars. He owns a number of fields throughout the Dominican. There's that brand should be exploding right now. I don't know why. I don't get it. It is just, to me, I mean, he's got plenty to sell, and he does a lot of his rolling events, and he's very popular at going to shops and rolling cigars. But I'm going to tell you what, that's a brand I absolutely love since day one, and I still love those cigars.
Who owns DBL?
Francisco Amante.
Okay, I'm going to write that down. I've never talked to him. So I'll definitely reach out to him. See, maybe we can help push it. Get him on the show or something.
Francisco Amante, and he is so knowledgeable. You got to understand something. Francisco was mentored and worked under. He ran the factory under Lito Gomez.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and he also studied under Carlos Senior.
Oh, wow. Okay,
so he knows a lot about tobacco. A lot. I mean, he did something at his I was down for his grand opening of his factory, and he was given a tour to all his shop owners they brought down and everything. And I'm going to tell you what, he took a leaf. He was given an explanation about colors of leaf, dark leaf, and how some people make artificially dark leaves. Right.
Yeah.
So not everything Maduro is real. It's not real. Some Maduro is aged, supposedly aged beef. It's been in the Perlone for a long time. It's aged. What you can do, and he showed this. He took a leaf. This is this color, and then he took that same leaf and he wet it a little bit, and he started to rub it between his hands like this, right? Heating it up. And then he opened it up. Imagine that.
Yeah.
It's dark. It's dark. And he said, and he looked at everybody, he goes, not everything you see is what it is. Just remember that. Okay?
That's the only negative side that I have found being in the cigar media. I've been able to peer behind the curtain, and like I said, some of the things I have found out, it's like, crap. You know, it's like, what?
There are things I won't talk about.
No, yeah. But,
but you know, Kerr knows. We've seen it. Anybody that's been that makes cigars or has seen things enough, there are things that, you know, not everything's what it seems to be. But hey, you know what? It doesn't matter, because if the consumer likes it, in the end, it is what it is. All right. It is
what it is. Kerr, what about you?
Smoke what you like.
What about boutique cigars? Who should be blowing up, but they're not?
That's a tough one. I mean, I think there's a lot of great brands out there, and I guess for me, I guess I would have a different definition of blowing up. You know? So I mean, if there's a lot of brands out there that, you know, if their aspirations are to be in every lounge, then there's a whole bunch of brands out there, including myself, that should be blowing up.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, if you're working hard and you have a plan, whether it's a short-term and a long-term plan, it's eventually going to happen. I just think, you know, everyone needs that one little break here and there. It's always helpful, but I think you guys probably have a little bit more intuition, a little bit more intuitive when it comes to a brand that you maybe have been seeing or you're familiar with, especially Jimmie with all that he's doing, that you feel should be doing more than what they're doing. I wouldn't be able to even judge that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, let's maybe reframe it. Maybe I could reframe that question ever so slightly as a comparison. So you want to think about boutique brands over the last 8 years, right? Some are still where they're kind of at. They haven't really gone trajectory, right? Now take it as an example, a brand like Southern Draw. 8 years ago, nobody knew who Southern Draw was, right? Today, everybody knows Southern Draw Cigars. Yeah. He's making millions of cigars. He's in all these shops because he is nonstop pounding pavement, traveling around the country like a maniac, working his brand, doing what he does best to promote it and get it into shops.
Well, there you
that's
go.
What it takes.
That's what I'm saying. There you go.
And he's got good craft. I mean, that's
He's got great cigars, but he's
got great cigars.
Not
but he's
short
also
of busting your ass. Yeah, I mean, you have to have that opportunity. Yeah.
Kevin Schweitzer is another one who's really starting to grow because he's really working it hard. He's everywhere, okay, and he knows he has to be everywhere to make it happen.
Yeah, so, same with Doc Rodriguez.
Doc
GTO.
Rodriguez is really starting to. He was here, okay, and now he's beginning to. He's getting from that boutique level to the next level up. I can see him starting to get there because you begin to see people that weren't talking about him are talking about it now. All right. You know, if you follow threads and stuff and groups and things, you start to see that pop up every now and then on a feed that somebody's smoking a GTO. All right. But you wouldn't see as much of that 2 years ago.
No, it's being everywhere. He does a lot of, I mean, I know Doc too. He does a lot of, that man is.
If he would just retire finally.
Crazy working and with, between, being a physician and that work on top of the cigar business, the guy pretty much lives out of his vehicle. But I think, Jimmie, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you got to have a good product that's great, but you have to have the ability and you have to have the opportunity, and you have to work and get out there and hit the pavement. Some folks can do it. Some folks can't. And I think that's always going to be a part of I know, like for me personally, that's part of the business plan is you have to look at, you have to look at.
Is it your business or is it your second business?
Well, it's a fucking business no matter what.
No. Is it your primary job?
My point is when you look at your primary job versus something that you have a passion for and you're doing, that you have to go, okay, how much time can I allocate to this? And if I allocate X amount of hours, then I can actually track and do some projections on my growth based off of the time I can put into it.
Right.
So I know there's some fucking idiots out there that call some folks, oh, it's your hobby. It says, no, it's a passion and it's a job. Just shut up and mind your P's and Q's. You actually have to be able to allocate. Taxes? Right. If the money's coming out of your pocket,
taxes on my business.
If it makes you feel better at night to call it that, then that's fine. But at the end of the day, people are, whether you have 5 hours a week or 50 hours a week to dedicate to your business, I don't care if it's cigars or if you're making hairpins or bows, you're still putting in that time, and you can project your growth. And you can project your profits based off of the amount of time given to that specific.
These.
Or you're making that is Jimmy, the official cigar propometer.
Jimmy, how many times do people tell you, boy, it must be nice to sit around smoking cigars and just writing about them?
Somebody said that the other day to me.
Did you?
And I was like, not for nothing, but I've been doing this. I've been smoking cigars for 40-something years, and I've been doing this for 10 years, and I've given my heart and soul every non-regular job working hour to this.
That's why I said
why I'm not in the house with her right now.
That is why when I say when someone criticizes it, calls it a hobby or whatever the hell they want to do, it's just such a condescending thing to say to someone who has a passion for this and dedicates their time and their effort to this and really loves and respects the community. What you've done and what you do, Jimmy, it's not like, it takes time and you're taking your spare time to do it. That's worth something. And people may not agree with you on some things, but at the end of the day, you still have to respect the person who's dedicating their spare time to it because of the passion.
That's it. People always say it must be nice sitting around smoking cigars, and I go, try it.
Yeah, well, Kevin, you're the hardest working guy. I mean, I'll tell you, I did a show for years, and Kevin and I laugh about it because I did some research, but all my interviews, it was always a little bit more conversational. And when I started doing a show with Kevin, I really started to, Kevin and I became friends. We've been friends for years now, but really fully understanding the research that he does, the preparation that he does, we bust his chops a little bit about being anal retentive, but that's the reason why it's the best fucking show. And I don't say that because I'm on it. I say it because I'm being objective about it, because I've always felt that way. And then when I got to see and look behind the curtain, I was like, oh shit, that's a well-oiled machine. It's not a fucking hot mess back there.
Right. Yeah.
By the way, before we close, I just want to do a quick little plug. So on GTO Cigars, since we brought it up, I should mention that once we hit the $6,000 level, so we're $1,000 away on this Client for Autism.
Okay, I was going to ask you about, people can keep donating. It doesn't stop.
Absolutely, keep donating. Okay. And if they donate, and push it out there, if they donate, when they put their donation in, have them put a dash and have them write cigar prop.
I've been telling everybody, try and do cigar prop. So
yeah, because I'll get the dashboard and I'll be tallying that all up to see who, what group, what brand.
How's that tied to GTO?
So GTO at six. No, because here's the thing.
I'm curious.
At the next $1,000, so $6,000 level. So at 4,000, we did a bunch of prize giveaways. At 6,000, one of the things we're giving, I got a whole bunch of stuff from Oscar I'm giving away. Awesome. Okay, so we got some packs going out at the $6,000 level. I got some other prizes coming in, and I've got some bigger guys I'm talking to this week trying to get even bigger and better prizes.
Have you had a new cigar?
I've had all this stuff, yeah.
The 33 Oaks or whatever it is?
I just reviewed one. I just reviewed the Connecticut. I thought it was a decent cigar, man. What did I say about it?
I've been telling everybody if we get Cigar Prop as the most, I never even discussed this with Jimmie. I've just been saying it, for like the last month.
92 to Connecticut.
Wow.
Connecticut Corona Gorda, 92. Very nice cigar.
Yeah. So I've been telling everybody if Cigar Prop gets the most amount of donations, Jimmie is going to take a lighter bleed tool up to the top of Mount Fuji with him, and then I am going to auction it off, and all proceeds go to Autism Speaks. So
there we go.
If we get the most donations, you will have the only lighter bleed tool that's been to the top of Mount Fuji. So you get to say that. I'll make some kind of certificate of authenticity to go with it. And then, so put that little dash Cigar Prop, and then, maybe someone will have a chance to win a bleed tool. It's been to the top of Mount Fuji.
So right now, Smoke In, $1,400.
Yes.
Number one.
Yes.
Executive Cigar Lounge, a little over 500 right now. Number two.
So right.
And by the way, at 5,000, we may now be the number one. And I got to check the stats, but I think we are now the number one Autism Speaks campaign right now running.
Oh, that's nice. Congratulations.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right, Kerr, any final questions for Jimmie before we let him go tonight?
Thanks, Jimmie. Appreciate it, man. Good luck with everything. This is awesome.
Yes.
Yep.
And congratulations to your son as well. I mean, that's much luck and great fortune.
Yeah, he's actually going to be on the show with. We're going to be on with Johnny Smokes on June 8th, and Dominic's going to join us on that show.
Oh, perfect. And like I said, I'm going to reach out to get in with you. I definitely got to have you back. Like I said, I've got a whole page of industry things that are happening. I'd like to get your opinion. Kerr, maybe we'll get another member of the media, and so we'll definitely get you back on here soon because, like I said, we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about still. So, all right, Jimmie, you have a great night, man.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. My dog has been very, very patient tonight, sitting next to me. He's looking to go out for his walk. So, and I said the magic word, so he just perked his ears.
All right.
So, thank you.
Thanks, Jimmie. Have a good night.
Thank you for everything you're doing for this. It's greatly appreciated. Trust me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you. You have a good night.
You too. Enjoy, guys.
See you.
Thanks. Bye. See you. All right, everybody start typing in the word cigar for the Tapping Ash and Taking Names giveaway presented by Amendola Family Cigars. In the meantime, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Corona Cigar. Would have been freaking out right now. 2 hours, 37 minutes.
Dude, you lose all sorts of concept of time when Jessica's not around.
I do. Like I said, it was like we were like 2 hours in, and I'm like, oh my God, I got a whole nother page. I go, we're gonna have
I was looking at your questions too. I was like, good Lord, man.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wrap it. We'd have had another hour. Without a doubt, a whole nother hour.
We have 45 minutes of him describing electrical engineering, and the only thing I understood was electrical engineering. Because it makes me laugh because I'm a boy.
Yeah, I had to let it go because my next question would be, okay, let's make this easy. When you woke up this morning, what did you do? What? Just tell me one
sentence.
And what did you do? Did you send an email? I'm just gonna say he's a lighter engineer. That's all I'm gonna say.
I got that out of it too. It was a great description, but at some point I was like, "Damn, Jimmie,
like I said, I still don't know what he does.
You gotta dummy it down a little bit, buddy. You're not talking to two other we're talking to Kerr and Kev here. You're not talking to two colleagues here. I mean, it's like, just say, listen, when there's a machine, I create the computer board. Well, you froze up there, Kev.
That's it. So, all right, let me share Let me share my screen.
Yeah.
Let me know when you can see it, Kerr.
Can
you see it up there?
There we go. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Do you solder wires? Yes or no?
Yeah. That's it. D-Boy 2712. Let me write that. Let me write that down.
Looks like that picture D-Boyd was smoking a Candela.
Hey, he was. Look at that. He is smoking a Candela. Yeah,
Nice
right
job,
on.
D-Boyd.
So shoot me an email, Kevin@cigarprop.com, and we will get you out a Drew Estate Freestyle Live pack. Next week we welcome Gurkha Tanya. I'm always seeing her on social medias. You know, we had Gurkha Wan on a couple months ago, so I want to get like Gurkha Tanya. Like what is I don't know her history with Gurkha, how long she's been with the company. So can't wait to finally talk with her. Make sure you're following Cigar Prop, producer Jessica, Kerr Viajante of Stogie Road Cigars on all the social medias. Links are in the show notes down below, as well as links to the Autism Speaks campaign that Jimmie is running. If you decide to donate, definitely just put your name and then / like Cigar Prop. Now, he didn't say who donated at the beginning. The deal was who donated the most money, how many people donated. So I don't care that Smoke Inn's at 1,500. They only got 2 people. We need to get Cigar Prop at like 5 or 6 people, and we're going to win. So I'm going to, I want to get a Cigar Prop lighter bleed tool to the top of Mount Fuji because I'm probably never going to go. Also in the social media links is all of our partners that make this show happen each and every week. We really, really can't do it without them. So thank you to JC Newman Cigars, CigarMedics, Amendola Cigars. We are the muscle. Illusione Cigars, deep in flavor, deep in your mind. K by Karen Berger Cigars, Drew Estate Cigars, and Corona Cigar, and of course Drew Estate and Experience Acid. Kerr, leave us with a final thought for the night.
Support your local cigar shop, and like we were talking about earlier, visit multiple cigar shops and kind of create your own list of what you're looking for. And when you settle in, I think those are the cigar shops that will best fit you.
Perfect. We'll see everybody next week.
See you.